Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway. I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we'd run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out, and I know it's a black man. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. My guest this week, our first Brummie, I think, believe it or not, Mr. Carpin Media. It's none other than John Shoes Jones. However, usually there's a little Nash news segment with one of the Nash team before I get into the guest. But everybody's living the dream in Slovenia and I've been left here in Essex. So, no Nash news. Some of you might be grateful of that. Straight to the main stage. The man himself. How are you, Shoesy? Good?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you ever so much for asking me to come down. It's a long journey, but it's hopefully it's going to be well worth it, to be honest with you. So,
it definitely will be worth it. No, not at all, mate. It's good to have you on. We needed to represent Birmingham, didn't we, mate? Subtitles are included.
Oh, we did, there we are. It was great, mate.
Well, how have you been? What have you been up to?
Plodding along, really, doing a bit of this and that, trying to get a bit of fishing. I'm not doing as much fishing as I should do. I don't think we all are, to be honest with you. I wish I could be going out every week, but unfortunately I'm not. Working, filming, photography, product development, testing. So, yeah, plenty of things doing.
Busy. Yes. Always busy though, mate.
Coming down here, that's busy.
Busy. You're not happy, are you, with this drive?
I'm getting older. I don't want to drive so far now.
What's Birmingham?
I mean, it was quite easy years ago. Oh, straight down to Calais, 4 hours to Calais, and then another, whatever it was. But, can't be arsed.
You're getting older, mate.
Yeah.
No.
I get in the van with somebody driving.
Oh, yeah. You're at that level now. You can do that, surely.
Bed chair in the back, probably.
It's fair to say you've, we're going to talk later sort of media-wise, working within the industry-wise, because you've been involved in the industry for a long period
of
time.
Years, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years. And especially in terms of sort of media and the changes that you've seen, I think that would be very interesting speaking to you about the plan. But I wanted to start with some epic photos you sent me.
Okay.
From back in the day with some incredible hair, mate.
Yeah, hair.
Some incredible
I've gone through
hair.
some hair. I have definitely gone through some hair. Some hair phases.
Mate, they were good. I'll overlay them as we talk about these captures. I never realised. I probably knew you in more sort of modern times in your media roles for various different companies, but I never realised that you have fished the hallowed turf of Yateley. You started Patshull Church Pool and Farlow's back in the day. 3 like iconic venues at the time. Yeah. Talk to me about getting on there and your early years carp fishing.
I think you've got a picture of my first 20-pounder.
Yes,
that was a place. Now, all the Brummies, especially guys from Wolverhampton, they will know this venue, especially if they're my age. Pool Hall. It had a fish in there called Humpy, which was a big 30-pound common, massive shoulders on it, and everybody wanted to catch that fish.
What year are we talking here, Susan?
Mid-80s.
Yeah, that's a big fish, isn't it?
85, 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. I remember my dad used to take us up there first and drop us off and then pick us up before I was 17. And then once I'd be able to drive, I was using the works van, driving up there. Me and my mate would go up there, catch loads and loads of little commons. But you were just catapulting hemp in the edge, and you were just seeing how far you could bring the rigs closer into the bank and how many takes you can still get. I mean, we were catching in a foot of water, you know. But I eventually did get, I mean, it was full of those fish, you know, anything from £8 to £15, loads and loads and loads of them. some weird things. Some that I was talking to a mate the other week, and he said, "You remember that fish caught? It looked like it'd been barbecued. It was just literally. It was like, I'm not touching that.
What do you mean barbecue?
It was just black and furry, and it was a common, but it was like, I ain't touching that. Sorry, I'm not going near that. Forceps to get the rig out, and that was just pushed back. It's like
straight out of Wolverhampton.
I mean, it was straight out the kebab house. But yeah, I managed to have that £20 common, which was awesome because, you know, when you're playing a fish, all of a sudden the rod's going. Yeah. You think, so much bigger. We all thought it's got to be 27, 28 pound. It was 21, I think it was. So that was my first £20 fish. That was from Paul Hall, and which you know, I'd imagine other people have had their first big fish from that venue as well, because it was like a learning curve. Some really good anglers on there. There was the normal pleasure angler that was fishing for just one rod down the edge, and then there was some proper bivvy guys that you would just watch and see what they're doing, and they were tying all these rigs up and making critically balanced baits and everything. It was a very big eye opener. But from that, we wanted to we got to join a syndicate because we like this bivvy thing. We've got to join a syndicate.
Who's we? You're saying we here a lot.
Me and a mate of mine.
Right. Okay.
He stopped fishing after a while. He joined Patshull with me, and he stopped fishing for a while, and literally had a career, right? A very successful career. And now he started up again, so we're back in contact and we're out fishing again.
Oh, nice! So
that's good. So we joined Patshull, and that was. I mean, it's a fantastic looking lake, the church pool, amazing. You know, you just wake up in the morning, it was just like heaven. And of course, you join that, and you got Rob Hales on there, and loads of names at the time. I can't remember them all. I mean, I was, 18, so it's 88.
Fresh.
1988, turning up in my red Ford Escort van. And I had a red pair of basketball boots. So you imagine camo trousers and a red pair of... Well, I thought, the fish ain't going to see me feet, are they? That's it. And where shoes came, it's the biggest question I always get, where the shoes come from.
Yeah.
Well, that's Rob Hales. That's his, he started all that because, when you join a syndicate, you're new and you're a new face to there, and people don't know what your name is and whatever. And there was always somebody will turn up and go, "Who's on?"
Yeah.
And they'll go, "Oh, John's over there, and oh, John who?" And it was, red shoes, red van. Right. So I'd got the red Escort van, the red shoes, and then it just got short and straight to shoes.
So Rob Hales is responsible for you?
Yeah, I think he said to me, he says, "I remember calling you red shoes, red van."
Red shoes, red van.
Made an impact.
Mate, it's stuck, hasn't it?
But those Patshull days were brilliant because I remember I was just sitting there one day having a little bit of a social, and of course all the guys that had been on there for a long time, they were like, "Do you know there's a mad monk?" A mad monk? So, yeah, there's a mad monk. I mean, the church pool, the church is there.
Mm.
And the graveyard's there.
Yeah.
So when you fish the bay, in the church bay, right in the corner,
you're looking out.
There's a churchyard behind those trees there behind you. And it was all open with all these lovely mature horse chestnut trees and everything. It was all manicured because it runs onto the golf course. And sometimes the church bell would chime in the middle of the night.
What, randomly?
Go, dong, and you'd go, "What on earth?" And it's flat calm. There's no wind. I mean, on windy days it wouldn't ring, but it would go off in the middle of the night, and you're startled. You wake up, and you can still hear it resonating, the sound. What?
I don't like that type.
I'm
of
even
stuff,
getting goosebumps now thinking about that whole thing. But I mean, I know a couple of guys packed up and went home.
What? Just not the church? Was there any other stuff going on, or just that church bell?
It was just. They were saying there was a mad monk. Now, after a couple of years of getting to know the guys, right, they would say, this monk would walk along and you'd see him in his robes and everything and go by once. So after a progression of new members each year come in, now I'm beginning to be more of an older stay angler there. And there was new guys coming in. So I kept that story going.
Yeah.
And there was quite a few occasions, and some people may still think something happened to them when they were fishing. Disclaimer. Nothing weird happened, but it was me.
You got dressed up?
No, I didn't get dressed up. But in the middle of the night, right, I would walk from my bivvy to another bivvy, right, gets cold hand off the dew, just touch, and then run off in the opposite direction, but then make a big loop back and then run like I'm running back from my bivvy, all flummoxed and like, what on earth's going on? Right, and I'd walk back and I'd go, oh, mate, Jesus Christ. And they'd go, what? I said, somebody's just touched me, like a cold hand has just touched my face and it's run off this way. And they were like, oh, the same's happened to me. I can't believe it. And I kept that going for ages. I was doing it to loads of people.
That is dark, mate.
I'd probably get stabbed nowadays. But I kept that going for a long time. But it did backfire on me the one night. I remember because I had Billy that same session. I think it was like the 16th, 17th of December. Full moon, flat calm. I rocked up after work, so I'm there about 6:30, so it's pitch black. Nobody in the bottom carpet, no in the car park, nobody on the road section, nobody in the car park in the middle, nobody in the car park at the top by the church. So there's nobody on. So you do the whistle. There was a whistle on there when you turned off. It was literally... and someone would reply... And you'd know that, oh, that's Steve. You know his tune, so you knew where they were.
So you had your own whistle tune?
Oh, yeah. Craig Welsh, who's emigrated to America, if he's watching this, I do, Craig, how are you? He'll be laughing now because he'll know that tune. He'll go, he'll know that.
That's brilliant.
And the way you when you caught a fish, you had to shout something, which I'll come on to in a minute. So... I'm on that lake, so I chose the road point, which is the road point? I always called it the road point. Top point was by the church, road point was... Some people did it the other way around, but the road point. I think I was I got a Nash oval trolley. Yeah. So I'm sitting in there. It's a bit frosty. There's leaves on the ground. There was a little path out to where and it was a full moon, and you could see all the way up the meadow at the lake. You could see down, because the moon was so bright, you could see if there was anybody about. So I'm sitting in the front of my bed chair, sitting there watching the lake, and I heard the sound of footsteps in the leaves coming. And I even went, oi, oi. And nobody said anything. I'm like, oi, oi. Like, nothing. So torch on, spun round, nobody there. And I thought, hey, you bastards, they're winding me up here. There's somebody. I've gone out, no cars. I've gone up, walked up to all the... Nobody. Didn't see anybody. I mean, there's still the sound of those leaves. It was definitely footsteps. It weren't like a fox. Because as soon as I'd have gone, oh, you'd have heard a fox scurry off, you know? But it was definitely human footsteps in that, and there was nobody there. I stayed. Because like at 2:30 that morning, I had a drop back, and it was Billy, which was the biggest mirror in the lake. I mean, full moon commons.
Yeah.
It's a lake full of big commons. The only mirror in there there was two mirrors. There was Billy and the chip shop mirror, which was only a small...
The chip shop mirror.
Oh, yeah. That was caught while somebody went off to get some chips, didn't they? And they come back and the rod had gone. And
this Syndicate sounds absolutely brilliant,
Oh,
mate.
There's plenty of stories, mate. I mean, it's a shame you said 4 hours on that camera.
yeah, that's what my card takes.
Yeah.
I'll do a Patshull special.
Oh, jeez. So anyway, I've caught that. 2:30, Billy. Now, the full moon. It's full moon, you catch big commons.
Or big mirrors in this case.
It was the biggest mirror. 32.
And you were on your Todd and you had some sort of weird
I had a bit of
ghost
an
experience.
Yeah.
And you stayed. Fair play. Good job you stayed, mate.
Oh, yeah. Well, the rods are out, weren't they?
I'd have gone, mate. That would freak me right
Well, there was nobody about. I mean, if there was a stranger about, then it would have been a little bit... I would have been on edge. But I didn't see anybody. I mean, I've sat in the graveyard at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning going, well, come on then. If it's true, something up here.
Have you done that?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I'm fishing just there, I'll go fishing the top point by the church. I would walk up and sit there and go, come on.
In the graveyard?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not a bit of me. You were on it, didn't you?
Well, I tell you something, on a windy night you wouldn't, because you couldn't hear anything. There's many times I've walked away from that graveyard and I've gone, I ain't looking back now.
No.
And I've trotted a bit quicker to be
Yeah, you ran.
Yeah.
That'd be me.
But that's just all in your head, you see.
Of course it is, yeah.
You know, there's nothing strange about it. But that church bell, and a lot of them will actually confess to this, that church bell has gone off in the middle of the night and there's nobody there. maybe the campanologists tied it up wrong and it just went. But if it had, we always thought if they tied it wrong, it would have unslipped. It would have not just done one. It would have just carried on.
Yeah.
It just went dong, and that was it.
Oh.
Calling all.
Still there now?
Yeah.
Isn't it a trout? The trout fish at the front? Is there a trout fish at the front?
Yeah, there's the Trout Lake, which the Great Lake, which they have big silver, bream and what's competitions on there, which is good. It's been bought out by a new owner now, and I don't know what's happening. Maybe if someone's watching can put a comment under below and find out what's actually happening. But somebody that's one of the owns some sausage company or something. I forgot who it is.
I hope it's carrying on.
I don't think the golf course is up as a golf course anymore. It's a shame, really. It's a fantastic venue.
The ghost of Patshull lives on, mate.
Oh, mate, the stories about that place. We had fireworks across the lake from the boards against the meadow, and fireworks would go across, rockets, and they were hitting bivvies and bouncing off. And we used to go in the boathouse and break all the stems off the rockets and put them on the table and light them all. And then the only way out was through the little door at the back end. So you couldn't move until the first one went off.
Oh, my days.
And, of course, a stemless rocket could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
Oh, I was laughing.
Mad.
I mean, the pub stories.
Where's the nearest pub to there? I've fished.
The Crown or the Pigget, I think it is, just around the corner. Albrighton. Passingham.
Living the dream.
Albrighton, Passingham, I've forgotten. Again, somebody will probably put a comment on saying, shows you've got it wrong.
Big social scene at the pub?
It was a social scene in the back of everybody's swim, I mean, every weekend you just went for the social.
Yeah.
And there might be, 8 to 10 of us behind in having a social, the back of somebody's peg, swim. And that person would have a take in the middle of it. And it was even better because we were all drinking and we were all having a laugh. You couldn't do it now because you were cast out and your rods you were over the other side of the lake.
Mm.
And you didn't have receivers. You were just thinking, I wonder if I'd take.
Different time, innit? Completely.
Dear me.
Yeah, you'd be
and the strange thing about it is there weren't many damaged fish.
Mm.
But
yeah, as you say, mate, different time.
Very different.
In terms of the actual fishing on there?
Fishing was brilliant.
Yeah?
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was when I first started, it was a particle water, really. There was lots of eels. The moment you put a boilie out there, it was eel straight away.
Big eels or just little bootlaces?
Well, it changed. It was cycles.
Right.
Sometimes there was lots of eels, sometimes there was less. And I remember one of the lads, John Ritchie Cullen, we used to call him Crazy. Very good angler, photographer as well. So he had a medium format camera as well, and he would set everything up perfectly. And you used to get brilliant images from him.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about photography later on because I think, there's a lot we can talk about. And he went in straight away. One season at the start of the year, he went straight in with boilies and absolutely destroyed it the first week.
Yeah.
And we was like, oh, boilies. And then all of a sudden the fish weight started going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And there was 330s, 430s, 530s, 830s, and they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which was always nice.
Mm.
But they were massive, perfectly golden commons. So that was the biggest pull. And I remember talking to guys down south who were saying, I would love to catch a big common because we only catch mirrors. And I'm like, well, I want to come down here to catch some mirrors because we're catching loads of commons.
Yeah, I've done the commons.
And then from that, it was, I don't know how I got to be, field tester, Nash field tester.
You were part of the stable. What year is that again, mate?
Late 80s, early 90s.
So yeah, late 80s, early 90s. So pretty soon after this period of time then.
Yeah. I think it was because, you were using, I think, was it when it was, what was that fish? I remember when squid first came out. That was probably mid-90s. But we were on a fish meal. I forgot what fish meal it was. But anyways, we were catching on that, and I would submit images and before then, and I think Kevin then says, "Oh, you come on as a deal, and you get your bait a bit cheaper." which was, of course, a young Midlands lad going, bloody hell, I've got a bait deal. I remember going into Foster's, I've got a bait deal. And they were like, you lucky bastard. So yeah, that went on from there, and it was really nice because they put me in the
you're in the catalogue,
the catalogues, yeah, catching a few commons.
Go on the boy.
But at the same time, I mean, it was traditional close season, so from the end of March, well, mid-March, you couldn't go fishing. It's like, what? You can't go fishing. So of course, Farlow's.
Oh yeah.
Was any method trout fishery, which we didn't think any, it was just any method trout, and there was just carp anglers down there. So we're right, okay, that's where we're going. So we just used to travel all the way down to Farlow's in the close season and go and fish down there, and that was such an eye opener. You getting to meet the famous five.
Yeah.
People that they're fishing savvy.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's such and such.
Starstruck, yeah, exactly.
That's Steve Briggs, that's Rob Maylin, and it was like amazing. And that's how I got to know, when I first got to know Steve Briggs and Joan. Joan used to work behind the bar at Farlow's, and Rob was there fishing every time we walked up. We rocked up down at Farlow's. He'd be fishing off the Hearn Point, outside the calf, right. He'd be casting across to the island. It was 9 times out of 10, he'll be in one of them pegs, right? And of course, they'll be all in the bar playing pool. And I've talked to you about this before, didn't I? We had a couple of Brummie lads coming down, and we were so distracted by what was happening by all these famous carp anglers in the bar. Our fishing came second. We just wanted to be in the bar with all these faces of the industry, And me and my mate were in a pool team at the time. We weren't brilliant, but we could play.
What, back home?
Back home, yeah.
All right.
So we could play a little bit. We could hold our own. And of course, it was everyone was putting the pound on to play, so we put a pound. And then Rob Maylin was saying, right then, winner stays on, and the loser has to have a silly dance, or silly dance, as they used to say. Right? Of course, you're playing pool against Rob Maylin.
What was Rob Maylin like at pool?
Crap. No, he was all right, actually. He was all right. He was very good. I mean, he used to used to eye you out, and it's like,
oh, right, so it's full on here.
It was a proper, but it wasn't serious.
Right.
It was a laugh because you had to do a silly dance at the end.
Yeah.
And of course, when you did lose, you just had to do this stupid little dance at the end, right? Which was funny. But there was one thing that stuck in my head though, which was a bit embarrassing. It was in between one of the games, I'll go to the toilet, right? Because we had a few beers.
This is brilliant, mate. I've heard this is a belter.
And let's just say I got a bit wet. A certain part of my trousers got a bit wet, and I'm trying to dry them. Right, and I'm looking inside to dry my trousers as the door opens. It was Ritchie MacDonald, and he's gone, "Oi, what you blah blah blah," and I'm like, and it's a little bit embarrassing. So I managed to dry it up, and I've walked back into the bar, and he comes walking in, and he shouted out, "I've just caught him checking his arse." I'm like, no.
There's no good way to style that out, mate, is there?
Well, it is what it is, isn't it, really? There's not a lot you can do. Just I'll beat you a pool instead.
Did you smash him up?
I can't remember, but we won some, we lost some. It was just brilliant. It was just brilliant fun, having a laugh with them. I mean, they started calling us, the Brummie lads are here, and we'd all turn, there was more of us turning up, and it was just nice. There was no aggro, everyone got on with everybody, and, the little tackle shop and Buzz, B-U-Z-Z. From a Brummie, it sounds a bit buzz. He used to work in the shop there, and it was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And that going down there, wanting to catch mirrors, we were catching mirrors, but I remember fishing on Pylon Point before they changed it all, because it was a Pylon Point. Then you got Pads Bay off the back of it. Pylon Point looked back at the Heron Point, and I was fishing quite long. For me, back then, probably like 80 yards, 90 yards. Had a take and playing this. This was a heavier fish. Obviously landed it in the dark by myself, got all wet, got up to here in water, but I managed to net it, and it was the pet. Yeah. The mirror, the photo's not very good, slightly out of focus, but it was a pet. It was a 31-pound mirror, and it was the biggest mirror in the lake at the time. Big slate leather. I think it's a leather, actually. And I remember the hippies, the Nash guys remember the hippies. Jamie, I can't remember the surname. They were fishing down the Smelly Bank or the Factory Bank to the left, and they'd heard that I'd caught it, and they come running around, and it was like, oh man, you've caught it. And it was just amazing. Everyone was so happy for me. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know what I'd got. It's like £30 mirror, but it was the one everyone was after. So that was brilliant. I remember sitting on the pile, on one of the concrete posts of the pile, and just sitting there like, bloody hell. Everyone was so happy for me. I'm sitting there going, I've just caught, have I? It hadn't sunk in, But I mean, it's a £30. People have them, they're having them now. They're catching them right this minute, probably somewhere.
Yeah, but it's different times back then, mate.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like if you essentially Farlow's in close season is like you closing every day ticket fishery and saying to everybody you've got to go and fish linear. You've got the hardcore contingent all in one place because they've not got anywhere else that they can go and fish.
No, but it wasn't like rammed.
Was it not?
No, it wasn't like there's no pegs available. I remember we turned up one day, and again, Rob was in that peg.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, lads, how you do? Come and have a look at this. And I'm like, all right. So he goes over, and he reels in one of his rods, and he casts it, and it goes straight underneath the bushes on the margin. It's like, wow, that's a good cast. First time. And he goes, watch this again. Straight under. Like, how on earth are you doing that? He showed us up, the clipping up.
Yeah.
So this was like, again, early 90s. And he showed us the clip on the spool. Just clip it up there. Cast near enough. And then you think, oh, I need to go through. You know the score. And he's clipped it up and he's done it. I go, wow. So me and my mate Dares have gone, right, let's go and fish a swim with Ireland.
Oh, no.
So we went on, I think we went down to the motorway bank. And the whole weekend we were just casting to Ireland, hitting the clip. Oh, yes. And seeing how close we can get.
Yeah.
The whole weekend we learnt.
Yeah, massively.
And we went back to Patshull. And we were hitting the marker float straight on the marker float every time. I go, what? How have you done that? Yeah. So we were coming back with idea, with new tricks to Patshull. But that spun round the other way at one stage as well. Because I went to Yateley, the car park lake. I put my name down for Horton, but you couldn't put your name down for Horton unless you had already fished. You had to have been a member of a RMC Water previously.
Okay. So
there were certain lakes that you needed to be a member of. You didn't have to fish, but you just have to have a season ticket.
Right.
So I put my name down for Horton, but I had to fish. I had to have a season or two on a different venue before I got a chance to get officially on the list, So I joined, me and my mate Craig, who's the guy who's gone to America. We joined Car Park Lake.
Jeez.
Again, that was, travelling down every weekend. But you drove down on excitement, on the buzz to get down. I had a Renault 5 then. I got rid of my van and I had a Renault 5 and I had my wheelbarrow, all my rods, my bed chair, everything in that Renault 5.
That's sardine, mate, in there you'd have been. Like
and I could get everything in the barrow, in a normal builder's barrow. I couldn't get one bag in a normal builder's barrow now. Or my bait buckets.
We love a lot of gear, don't we?
Too much. But turning up down there, that was even more of an eye opener. That place.
I can imagine that is.
I've gone from there to that lake. I haven't.
No, you haven't.
We've jumped massively.
Yeah,
but we wanted to jump even more because Horton at the time, there was going to be a British record in there before the kill, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we got our name on that because we could see the future. We wanted to be on the best lake in the country for the biggest fish. But we were on the Car Park Lake, and that was just, Rob Maylin was there again, and he recognised us from the Farlow's days.
Yeah.
And everyone was on, Terrium was on there, Nigel Sharp.
What was that like, atmosphere-wise, when you go on there for the first time? Because you're pretty fresh. Obviously, you've known these people because you've seen them at Farlow's, and there's the whole sort of that barrier of initially seeing them. But that type of angling, I know it wasn't important British record, but it's hallowed turf.
Oh, I was very quiet.
Yeah.
I was very quiet down there. Because you're on their turf, and you're all fishing for the same fish. But everyone was so friendly.
Was it still friendly?
Really friendly.
There wasn't any edge whereby the sort of stakes are higher because of the fish. Still the same atmosphere.
Everyone was friendly. Everyone was happy for people catching fish. Everyone would help everybody else out. But again, I mean, you turned up on that place, and the stories straight away. I was in one particular peg sitting there one night, and somebody was walking by with their barrow going up to the North Lake. And I was hearing these noises, grunting noises or whatever, these strange sounds. So I've looked out, and there was a chap there. And I mean, I don't know anybody other than the named anglers that I've recognised. And he's gone, and I've gone, what? And he's picked carried bow and he's carried on going up the lake. I'm like, what on hell? What? He's just done the knife on the throat thing, and I'm sitting there thinking,
someone's going to kill me tonight. Yeah. Brilliant.
So I'm now sleeping with one eye open, one hand on a bank stick. And
is that what you've gone for, the bank stick defence?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I tell you something about bank stick defence. There was a lake in the Midlands once, and people were getting robbed where lads were jumping on top of their brollies, collapsing them around them, and while they were someone else was nicking the rods.
No.
But they were putting bank sticks in with spikes on. If you jumped on, I thought, that's got to be manslaughter, isn't it?
You'll be impaled on a bivvy.
So, yeah, I think it's probably been put around to just deter the don't jump on top of me brolly, But anyway, I'm sitting there, and in the morning I've gone round and I've explained what's happened, and they've gone, oh, that's Derek Rance. Oh, he's deaf and dumb.
Yeah.
And I said, but what's that? He says, oh, he's just winding you up. Don't worry about it. He's winding you up.
It's bloody worked.
But Broadmoor's not far away, is it?
No, yeah, of course.
Of course, Monday morning, I think they test the alarms. Right. So the old siren will go off on a Monday morning, just to test them weekly. And one of the lads said to me once, if you hear that going off any other time than a Monday morning, pack up your gear. I'm like, what? So yeah, you never know, do they? They might head this way, and it's like, Jesus, where have I come to?
Yeah, where am I here?
But what an amazing place. What an amazing place that was. It was the only lake that I could time with my watch where the fish would be at certain times of the day. And that A-team group, led by Heather, would drift around that lake, and you would go, right, in the morning they'll be there, at 12:30 they'll be coming past there, and at 2 o'clock they'll be there, at 4 o'clock they'll be there. And you could just follow them around. I was up a tree once, I think Brute's Corner or whatever it was called. I'm terrible with remembering names and stuff. I'm sitting there watching, and I see these fish coming towards me. And you could see there was a big mirror at the front. And you knew that was Heather. And you could see a really wide fish sitting there. I mean, they're at 40s, not 50s, they're 40s. The A-team are 40s, not 50s. Scraper 40s at that. At the right time of the year, they're 40s. This is equivalent to now fishing for fish that are 60s, say. So anyway, she's swimming towards me, waddling slowly towards me. And she stayed still, and I'm only 15 foot, gin clear water. And she turns up, she's gone like that. She's turned on her side and gone, whoosh, and then literally gone up like that and come back in again, and then straightened right in front of me. It's like, wow, just to see that. But you could follow them around. I remember finding a little spot on the end of the causeway, and it was only a small little dustbin size. When people say dustbin size in the weed, you can only tell it's a dustbin size when you're up a tree and you can literally see the spots.
Of course.
So, and I think, well, at the end of the causeway, am I going to get a rod on that? Because I've seen the dustbin, and he's on it, the dustbin lid, fishing on a dustbin. And it was the dustbin. He kept coming in every time I go up that tree at certain times of the day. He would feed on that little spot there. I don't know if somebody had kept the bait going in and he was on it, but he was on it. So I thought, am I going to get a rod on that? Because I can't see the spot from there. And it was all overgrown. There was a tree, and you could see down. So I've literally got up the tree with my marker rod, and I flicked my marker rod out to the spot, and I've pulled it back to the back of the thing. So I pulled the marker flow up. So now I can see the spot. So anything in front of that
is golden.
I'm on the
spot.
It took a long time to do it, but I managed to get it on. So I've got one rod on, and I know, right, that's going to work. So I've then just catapulted a few boilies onto it. Happy days, from off the tree.
Okay.
Job done. Following morning, screaming take on that rod. And I am, this is a decent fish. It's going to be a decent fish.
Yeah.
And I'm playing it and playing it and playing it and playing it. It's locked up a few times. The weed, there's loads of weed. It's on. There's a big ball of weed in front of me. I've netted this big ball of weed. Nothing in there.
Now
you can imagine the blokes round the lake.
Oh, no.
And I am literally scrambling through
Please.
I'm like, it's got to be in here. I've never felt it. It hasn't changed the feel all the way into the net. It's got to be in here. It's like nothing. I'm even looking at an empty net going, why isn't it in here?
You didn't feel it bump at any point?
Nothing. Completely gone.
Oh, mate.
But those, you learn by it. What I did, I worked at it. I found a spot. I hooked the fish, which was the hardest thing to do. But it turns out the hardest thing was to get the thing in. But I'd done all that work to do it, and unfortunately, the last little bit, it hook pulled. But I'm convinced this day it would have been the dustbin. Yeah, it was the only fish feeding on that spot.
That's a fish as well, isn't it, mate? I mean, they're all amazing fish in there. Any take and any fish on the bank there is mega. Yeah. But, the dustbin, I think, it's a mega fish, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Mega.
I remember seeing Arthur, and it was swimming along the back. It's like that little back bay, and it was swimming along the far margin. And I remember flicking a float with some big bunch of worms on it, and he's gone, do-do-do-do-do, and he's literally mouthed it like that, and just gone, and it gone. And I'm like, I'm shaking like a shitting dog.
Yeah.
Right? And it's gone, and I'm like, he's took it. And he's already spat it out, gone. He's like, oh, my God.
Imagine.
But it was just brilliant. It was just, you don't go rushing back to someone, I've just had an opportunity to catch that. It's just what happens, isn't it?
That I think that when people have recalled tales of Yateley, that's been the one thing that's sort of, for me, maybe just hearing about it or reading about it, Terry Hearn's writing, etc., or people talking about it, I didn't realise just how frequently you would actually see those fish compared to...
Oh, all the time.
Literally, the people are like, he'll be over there, Arthur will be there, Hev will be there. Yeah. Like, but catching them or getting a bite from them, completely different.
Yeah, I remember fishing the little swim in the car park on the end. There's this little gravel hump, and you've got a rod on it, and you're up the tree watching. You've fed it, and there's 4 of them, 4 of the A team feeding on there, and their tails are up, and your lines are going, and you can see them picking up the line, and they're not spooking over the lines or everything. I'm going, what? Never didn't get a pickup.
Mad.
Unbelievable.
But you did catch one.
I did have one. I mean, I've never really caught the biggest fish in the lake. I mean, we've just said Billy and what's here, but I did manage to have one, baby orange at the time. But it was slightly dampened when, I'm there with it in the sling, weighing it, and this chap walks by going up to the North Lake, and he says, "Oh, have you had one?" It was a northern angler. I don't know who he was. He went, "Is it a big one or a baby?" And I went, "Well, it's baby orange." Yeah. He says, "Oh, it's a baby." And walked off, never stopped.
Didn't stop?
Oh, right. Okay, obviously not good enough.
Yeah.
But that was, this is about predictable certain things. I'm fishing a little snag swim, and I've set up there, and you're very close to the swim. It's very close to the water there. So I've put this little green, it's like a bed chair cover on, and I've put some bank sticks to make this screen. So any torchlight from maybe or me cooker and everything, there's no light coming onto the peg because you're fishing right close. 9 sharp walks by, and I remember him saying, he says, as soon as that sun gets to there and it lights up that snag, it's about 8:30, you'll have a take. 8:30 comes, off it went.
Sharpie, man.
It was only one of the stocky commons, but he knew straight away. He probably knew it was going to be a stocky common now. And if he's watching, he's probably thinking, yeah, I did. That was good. But that was when I said about Patshull having reversed, coming back down to Yateley with something that was different from Yateley, but it turned out that it actually originated from Terry Hearn, but went to Patshull. I picked it up from Patshull and came back because I remember I'd got the stiff hinge rig on.
Yeah.
But I was fishing the stiff hinge rig with a critically balanced bottom bait, right? Wafters or wafters down here, if you want to call them.
But the same hooking arrangement,
same hooking arrangement, same everything. Amnesia, black amnesia, set up exactly as it traditionally was. But I was fishing it with instead of that sitting upright, I was sitting it with it down, tench after tench after tench after tench. It was working superb. Right? I remember Terry turned around and he saw me rig and he went, "Where'd you get that from?" This is only just probably in the last less than 12 months that him and, had come up with this particular rig.
Yeah.
And I went, "What do you mean?" He says, "Where'd you get that from? Where did you see that rig?" I said, "Well, it's one of the lads on Patshull showed me." Now, how it changed, because Wayne Dunn was one of Terry's best mates. Because Wayne Dunn was a Midland lad, close to me. And he used to travel down and fish with Terry on the North and on Raisby, on various other lakes. He used to catch loads of fish together. And, of course, that rig had gone back to Patshull. One of Wayne's mates on Patshull used this rig on Patshull.
Yeah.
And then that lad just said, "Oh, I'd seen this rig." He said, "Oh, yeah, this is it." So I thought, "Oh, that looks good." And then I went back to Yateley, not knowing where it had come from there, and I've turned up with that one. It's amazing how things can go from one part of the country to the other without actually knowing what's happening. But yeah, that's, I still use that rig now and again.
On the deck?
Yeah, because you're balance. I occasionally fish it with the proper pop-up, but sometimes I fish it on it with a wafter. And it's just something, it just makes it into a big hook rig. Yeah. That little boom section turns that little from the hinge, it's like a big hook.
Yeah. Right, do you fish it stiff sort of boom section, or do you change boom section?
Normal stiff hinge rig.
Yeah.
Fluorocarbon now. Fluorocarbon boom section, fluorocarbon section, and wafter or...
Rotary or on a lead clip? Rotary sort of helicopter system or on a lead clip?
On a really stiff hinge rig really is for helicopter. But yeah, that's...
Nice.
Get away with it now and again. So yeah, those days were brilliant. And then, of course, it's a shame because one of the lads down there, they said to me, he says, given time, I remember it stuck in. He says, you're working this lake out, you'll have them. But then the following season, my Horton ticket came up, and I didn't want to lose out. But there was the fish kill, but I still went there because shoulders were still alive. And a few of the original Longfield fish were still in there. And the goal was to get onto Horton. And Yateley was not to say a stepping stone, it was a learning curve. It was another classroom to go to before I went to there. But Horton was a lot more difficult because you didn't see them as much. I like a lake where they're active and you can see them. The last thing you want, you turn up and you don't see any fish showing, or you can't find them in the edge or anything because you don't know where to start then, do you? It's like, where'd you fish? On the Yateley Car Park, like, you follow them around and you can see what they were doing and try and work them out, and they were going there, they were going here. And over time, you'd have just tweaked things and you'd have caught them. Yeah. And it's just time. Some people are lucky and they catch them straight away. Some people have to sit on them for longer. If you haven't got the time, then you want to catch them quicker, don't you? Yeah. So obviously went on to Horton, the Horton side of things. I'm still working as a builder then. This was like 97, 98, I think. Yeah, something like that. And that was such a different lake because the aeroplane's flying in. It was literally, we're having a conversation now, and every 10 minutes you'd be like, hold on. Wait for that to go over. Yeah. And then we'll start again. It's where I bumped into Ian Russell. Yeah. Oh, what a character.
What a bloke.
And he still is the same bloke, the same character, the same enthusiasm, the same excitement now when he's 70.
He's still on there as well.
Did you hear that?
70.
70. Then when he was like 30s, 40s. And that was such a, such a laugh. And he'd put you on, as a dummy steer. He would just. But then that again, that lake was brilliant because gin clear again and the marginal spots, and you had respect for people. Somebody would put a bit of hemp in the edge and then go to work knowing they're coming back the next night. You wouldn't fish that spot because you had a bit of respect for that guy, or certain pegs, certain swims. If you're in that one, no one would fish that one. And do you know what I mean? Because that's the way the fish came in, so you wouldn't interfere. And that's the same on the venue I'm at the moment. People are there's a nice bit of respect. You don't fish that peg because someone's in that one. So that's what it was like down there. And of course, we had the lodge, we had the pub. Was it 5 Bells? and you could walk across the field, open a little wooden gate from the venue,
Deadly.
walk across the field to the pub,
stagger back, fall in.
But yeah, that again was such a brilliant place.
You said there, you sort of, and the reason for my pause is you talked about essentially etiquette, about having something, and you said you're in a syndicate now that sort of has that etiquette whereby somebody will be applying bait in an area, fishing a swim, or have something going, you leave it alone. For you, over the course of time, why is that etiquette still alive on your syndicate, and why, conversely, do you think it's not seen so readily in other places?
I think it's a syndicate etiquette, though, isn't it? The syndicate I'm on at the moment, there's only 20 anglers.
Okay.
And everyone knows everybody. Everyone's happy for them to catch fish. They'll help each other out. You know what I mean? It's all nice when people catch. There's no, oh, he's catching more than me. That, you know, there's nothing like that. You know, back at Patshull, we used to have a top rod.
Mm.
And whoever was top rod, if you weren't top rod, I was never peed off with the guy that was top rod.
Mm.
No, it was never like, oh, well done. But nowadays, I'd imagine a lot of people, a little bit, he's only catching because. Do you know what I mean? But that Horton one, again, everyone, they got on with, everyone knew. The regulars on there knew everybody, and it was all a laugh and would help out. You know, if you needed the boat, you'd jump on the boat to help people land fish.
Why don't you think that happens now?
He probably does.
Yeah?
I mean, it does on our syndicate, you know.
Is it generational?
I honestly don't know. I haven't fished enough syndicates to find out. Wherever I've gone, there always seems to be a little bit of, you know, common sense and respect for the other person. You know, at the end of the day, if there's two swims close to each other on a corner and one person there, the other one's in there. If you go in there, you're spoiling his chances, and by him being in there, he's also spoiling your chances. So you're no one's gaining from it. So you just, you know, unless you had a chat with them, do you mind if I drop in? Because I'm only going to drop one in the edge down here, just a single.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem. You know, and it's just, it's nice. Day tickets are different because each peg has a price on its head and it wants to be filled. And most venues now, they peg them out perfectly anyway, don't they?
Yeah, you've got a bit of water, haven't you?
So, yeah. Again, on Horton, I remember catching, No Name. That was 35, I think it was. And that was the original longfield fish. Now, foxpool. Reading about foxpool and everything, you know. So catching that one was amazing.
Special.
But it's just, I think it's from is it the slope swim? I think it was the slope swim. And I remember Ian Russell saying to me, he'd caught that fish from the same peg in the same month within a week the year before. So it's amazing how these fish get caught from similar areas.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the big fish anglers do target particular areas of the lake, don't they, at certain times of the year.
Of course.
I've never been that focused on a particular big fish. You know, you've got to do your research, haven't you, to get all that. But fair play to them, do it, you know.
Yeah.
Fair play.
It is freaky. They can turn up literally within the same day, can't they? It's absolutely mad.
Yeah. But that's going down there. You know, it was the millennium. You know, I said to you earlier, we had, the millennium parties. Everyone, you know, the world was going to end, wasn't it?
Yeah, the millennium bug, wasn't it? All the computers were going to go.
Everything was going to end, and it was, you know. And we had a party at Horton Lodge. I mean, of all the places, we had a party at Horton Lodge. And it was brilliant. You know, loads of food, loads of beer, loads of music. We were all dancing and being merry. And then you shut your rods out afterwards.
Yeah,
it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You know, that's just history for me. You know, you can't take that away. The old Horton Timber Trout Lodge, and we were all having a party in there. It was good times down there.
Recent fishing, or fishing that I've seen from you recently, or in recent times, are a lot centred around Midlands, RH fishery
Less
venues.
travelling.
Yeah, is that the
I
reason?
said before about travelling, you know.
You're not a fan, are you, the old travel?
Not so much as I used to. I love a good road trip. I used to love a good trip. I mean, we used to go down to Cassian, drive down to Cassian.
Yeah.
You know, and it's brilliant because you're driving down to Cassian. And that's just, it's part of it. It's the road trip. It's the laugh that you have going down there. I've been to driving down a Rainbow. That's not a 5-minute trip.
No.
But it's a laugh.
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody said to me, come on, there's 4 of us going, then yeah, all right, I'll jump in. I'll go for it. But travelling, 2 hours max.
Yeah.
You're fresher, aren't you?
Yeah, I suppose.
So yeah, the Rob Ailes waters, they're on my doorstep and they've been there for a long time and had the opportunity to fish them. I went for it,
Yeah.
It's really good. But that's moving on. That's in the, 2009,
That's pretty
10.
Yeah, very recent-ish.
Yeah, they're big fish.
Well,
I always thought, I'm going past so many big fish to get down to equally sized fish down here. Why don't I just reverse a bit and say, right, just catch the ones local?
Yeah.
So many fisheries nowadays have got big fish in them.
Oh.
They're all over the place. They're popping up all over, aren't they?
Too right.
And that's brilliant. It's brilliant for the sport. More anglers, more fish, more tackle sold.
Yeah, there he is.
But I mean, do you want to go back?
Yeah, go.
We'll go back to
go forward.
We've gone up to Millennium. If we go back
2000.
a year,
Yeah.
me and my mate applied to be marshals at the first World Carp Classic at Medine.
Nice.
So we had to drive down to Dover, throw everything into a coach, double-decker coach, and we were taken to Medine as marshals. Right. So we're there, and of course Medine, that was everybody that was known in the carp fishing world was there.
Yeah.
Everybody. All the Corder lads. Everybody.
Yeah.
And, you've seen that old picture, that high picture with everybody there, all the young Danny Fairbrasses and Martin Clarks and all the young gang, and they're all there. And where was we? We're on the dam and we were marshalling, I think Crowley, Rod Hutchinson, a couple of and I managed to weigh the first fish of the tournament.
Yeah.
So Bob Pratt, his name was, and he had his 30-something mirror at the end of the dam, and I weighed that all up and So I can honestly say, I think I was the first marshal to weigh the first fish in the World Carp Classic. I think I was, yeah. Yeah, Bob Pratt, his name was.
Bob Pratt.
But I remember this, and the bloke I'm going to talk about now will deny this ever happened. Right? I'm walking down, I don't know, to go to the shop or go somewhere, and I walked into this chap's swim, and I didn't know who he was. And I walks up to him, and I started to say something, and he went, "Do you know who I am?"
No.
Right. And I went, "No." Right. And he was just laughing. It was only a joke. It was only a wind-up type of thing. It wasn't a serious, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah.
But it was Rob Tough. He will deny that ever happened, right? But he did. He did, right? And it was funny at the time. But when I walked back to him, mate, I said, this bloke just said to me, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "I ain't got a clue who you are." But it turns out I will get to know him in the future.
Yeah.
So that was like quite strange. But that's such an eye opener. That was. I mean, throwing sticks. That's when throwing sticks came out, and they've got the Corder throwing sticks, and they were putting boilies in with throwing sticks. It was like, bloody hell, and it was just everybody that was carp fishing.
But that is like you just said it there. That is the biggest melting pot of like carp in minds, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's everyone.
And I think in '99, was it 9? Yeah, 99. I think Rob Hughes got involved with running the marshals and everything on that particular event the following year. Was it? Just thinking, because British Carp Angling Chips was 99. So it must have been 98 that it would have been 1998 when I, because at the presentation, I think that's when, I don't know if, the first presentation was at the other, it was at the other building. So it was the following year that I had a moan at what's his name, Ross Honey, because he praised everybody for everything, but he didn't praise the marshals for literally getting up in the middle of the night weighing fish. So I had a bit of a whinge saying, that was a bit out of order. You praise everybody, the sponsors, the people that gave you money, but the guys that have come to do it for nothing.
Yeah, you said
you didn't even say thank you for them, which is a bit wrong.
How did he take that?
Shrugs it off.
Right.
Right. I'm sure it would have gone in and sunk if he'd have understood the Brummie twang back then. So yeah, and that's when Rob asked me to come work for him then, you see, and we started, we were doing British Car Championships.
It's Rob Hughes.
Yeah.
Not Rob Tuff, yeah. So that's your, before this, you're still building, aren't you? Building work and bits, and that's your sort of, your first gig, if you like, in the industry, isn't it?
That was a difficult thing. I mean, somebody's saying, do you want to come and work for me? We've got this new venture of doing the British Car Angling Championships. Do you want to come and help me run it? I went, yeah. So
straight yes, no.
Oh yeah.
Why? Because it was fishing.
It's my hobby, and someone's asking me to become. Do you want to come and be your hobby can be your job?
Yeah.
And
dream, mate. The dream.
You do it. You jump on. You do it. And that was my door opening time. Door was open, and I took it. I went straight through the door, and without that happening, I wouldn't be sitting here. So we did that, and then we set up the British Car Angling Championships, and that's when all the doors opened because you're sitting in a swim or sitting in a bivvy with Danny Fairbrass, Damien Clark, Terry Hearn fished it. He fished the first. We got a picture of Terry there. They qualified at St John's, caught loads of fish on the surface. They qualified that year. Martin Clark, such a lovely bloke. Not Martin Clark. Not Martin Clark.
Damien Clark.
He's such a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
Everybody was really nice. They'd choose, come and have a cup of tea, come and have a coffee, come and do this. I'll give you 500 quid if you weigh me.
Yeah.
I was offered.
Yeah.
One particular
500 quid, was that the going rate for a dodgy read on some scales?
It was literally, they needed a few extra ounces to get them through. Oh. And the chap says, I'll give you 500 quid if you, that's it. I mean, back then, that was a month's wages from Rob. That was.
You took it. You definitely took it, mate.
I didn't.
That's more than still a month's wages.
That was a month's wages for Rob. That was back then. 500 quid. But no, I didn't take it. But that was when lots of doors opened. Everybody was.
But it's developing. It's the same with everyone. I think who's come in at that point is. And angling totally as a community is so tight. But when you work in the industry, it is network and everybody knows everyone, doesn't they?
Mate, we're lucky.
Yeah.
We're so lucky. I feel very lucky that I was in the right place at the right time. And Rob asked me, I said the right thing and did the right thing. And he asked me to come work for him. And, trying to be nice to everybody, and getting on along with everybody, that helps.
Yeah.
And I feel really lucky that I've done what I've done. Really, quite happy with the fact that I've met all these anglers and I'm here doing this, So
you've worked hard though, mate. To make it happen. I don't think everybody in the industry has been successful and has had the longevity that you've had.
I've not. There's people that catch big fish and get known for catching big fish. I've never been that. I can catch them. I'll never be the best angler. We talked earlier, the best anglers out there at the moment are probably the ones that don't want to be known.
Yeah.
We said that on everybody's syndicate, there's probably a couple of lads that will outfish everybody else and they don't want to be known, do they? They don't want to be put in the spotlight. But yeah, that's when, when fishing now, doing those British Championship doors open, then magazine features came out, I was starting writing in magazines. So I had regular features in stuff like that. That was interesting as well, because once you're in a magazine on a monthly basis, and again, we talked about it earlier, in a magazines, if there was 3 or 4 magazines a month, you were one of 15, 12 anglers in the limelight for a month. And then if you was in the following month, you carried on. If you had a series of articles in different magazines, nowadays, we'll talk about it, how the media changed. Nowadays, if you do something, post something on social media, you are posting something and there are thousands of people posting similar.
If you caught a 20-pounder today and you put it up,
Oh, mate.
oh my God,
Only people that know you will say, oh, well done, or like.
not the whole angling community.
No. When you were in magazine, I remember being in magazines and I'd walk in a supermarket and someone go, oh, I've seen you in a magazine. Oh, you were on the front cover of what's it? You were getting known. And at the shows, people coming up for your autograph. And that was like, wow.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a magazine, I weren't in the magazine because I was catching big fish. I was in the magazine because I was coming up with probably little ideas and little changes and tweaks and alternate things to try. And I still do, to be honest with you. I don't.
Outside the box, man, aren't you?
Oh, I can't keep still. I'm not. I'll change rods between sessions. I will go one weekend or one session and I'll be using this rig, this bait, this setup, rod, alarms, buzzer bars, everything. And the following week I might just go, I'm going to use this setup this week.
Oh my days.
Just to look, not to look different, just to be, it's just like change. I can't keep having the same thing. I can't do repetitive stuff.
What about if you're catching on something and confident? You don't change that, surely. If you've had a blinding session.
This is the...
What?
My hook baits, I won't change my hook baits.
Right, hook baits. Rigs, you're not first.
I'm a very, very single hook bait person at the moment. I love fishing single hook baits, and I will go...
That's the northerner in you, mate.
We'll talk.
That's the Midlands sort of /north in you.
We'll talk about single hook baits, about the Birch Grove at some stage, because I know that's on your list.
That is.
But yeah, I'm a very single hook bait person. Where I'm fishing at the moment, I like a quick bite. I'll turn up, find them. If they're showing, there's a very, very good chance you'll catch one. And that's what I try and do.
Hook bait you won't change, but everything else you need it to change because you can't deal with repetition.
I'm searching for the Holy Grail. I'm looking for something that's gonna be, that's it, that's the one. But you're never going to find it.
No.
Because fish change.
Yeah, it's not constant.
They change on the venue you're fishing. They change on every venue you go to. So it's different on each approach to, every lake is different. So you're never going to find the Holy Grail.
Yeah, there's too many variables, mate. You can't, it's not science. But for you, is this an experimentation with sort of you change one thing, or do you just literally go, well, I'm just going to change everything apart from a hook bait and I'm happy?
I'm not even changing hooks.
Right.
Now, we can go long on sharpening hooks, the debate on sharpening hooks. I've sharpened them. I've not sharpened them. But at the moment, for the last 2 and a bit years, I've been testing hooks.
Yeah.
And I wanted to test hooks like everybody else would be fishing. Not the top elite, where they will pick the sharpest, sharpen it even more, catch a fish, throw it away. Joe Bloggs doesn't do that. They'll pick it out of the packet, they'll tie a rig, or they'll buy a ready tied rig, and they will use it, and they will continue using that hook until it's, blunt as anything. Most people will do.
Yeah.
So I need to, if I'm testing stuff, I need to test it like the worst angler. How are these hooks, or how is this hook link material, how is these clips, how are these things going to be worked? How are they going to react to the worst angler out there? The worst anglers out there are the ones that don't change anything and just, they're not bothered. So you've got to test them to the worst ability. If you put, and it's quite difficult to do on a syndicate water where I want to catch decent fish.
Yeah.
I'm using the same hook. I'm not sharpening it. I want to see how long this hook will stay sharp. How many fish can I catch successfully using this one hook? I've got to about 4 or 5 20s and 30s on the same hook before I've gone, that's good enough, really. And I've done it with a few different patterns this year, and over the last 2 years. And yeah, I'm straight out the packet now, barbless. And I had a 100-pound catfish, I had an 80-pound, 100-plus catfish the other week.
Yeah.
I won't say why, because
yeah.
I think they shouldn't be in there. I don't know. it was weedy, and anyone that's caught catfish, they flat rod you, don't they? They was for ages. And this was all this new gear, right? And I can mention it. It's a brand new range of Syndicate end tackle.
Right.
It's all coming out next year. There's me and another guy at Syndicate have been putting it all together. I am now, honestly, a barbless hook man. These catfish, barbless hooks through the weed. I haven't lost one, better touch wood. Haven't lost a fish this season.
Is this barbless hooks by choice, or is this barbless hooks because the rules say you've got to use barbless hooks?
It's rules.
Okay.
So
if I gave you a choice,
Rob Hales's venues.
Yeah.
Barbless. Where I'm fishing now, barbless.
So if I gave you a choice, though, no, the rules are you do
barbless.
Barbless.
Yeah.
Why?
Anywhere, I'll go anywhere now. If it's you could use whatever. You know, obviously some places will say you've got to use barbs.
Yeah. I'm giving you free reign, mate.
Barbless.
Why?
Because I've got so used to playing them on barbless now. I know how to play them. I don't give them any slack. I can play them through the weed, and I'm happy to play them through the weed. And I seriously, I haven't lost him through the weed. On other venues, I haven't lost a fish on these barbless hooks. That's
when for me, and I'm only going from like fishing Raisbury where it's savagely weedy the past couple of seasons. Yeah. On a barbless hook, I would be not concerned, but that would be when I'd be a bit shaky.
The moment you put the rod down and go, that fish ain't going to move.
Yeah.
If that fish isn't going to move and you put the rod down, wait for it to move.
Yeah.
You're going to lose it.
Yeah.
Keep the pressure on it. Just keep that rod pressure, and eventually it'll come. It could take a long time, but keep the pressure on it, and eventually come. They've only got to bury their head slightly in the weed.
Oh, so
I remember Rob was filming. Rob was out filming underwater, and this fish would literally, he just buried just the nose, and that was it. It was double. And you went out to have a look, and you'd think it was completely underneath a massive weed bed. It was only a little bit. And I know if you got in a boat and you just lifted it like that, you'd be out. So just keep the pressure on, and it will come. It's not like it's deep. It's just catching. But there's, we've designed, most of it, this new hook pattern is something that I've requested.
Right.
And there's two versions of the same hook pattern. Mate.
What are you, I know this is scheduled for later, but we're talking product and we're talking product development, right? Yep. You've told me, you said that you like to think a bit outside the box, you like to change things, you're looking for a holy grail, but there's variables. Talk me through the process of you and product development, because there's one thing using product, testing them and saying this is good and this is that. There's another thing developing new concepts, different patterns and things like that. There's two completely different skill sets. Where has that come from, and what has your journey been and thoughts around products coming out, especially in more recent times?
I remember when I was very little, I always thought, you're standing in the kitchen with your mom and dad, or you're sitting there, right? And I've always said, there's a product that this kitchen needs that every household will want to buy. There's that £1 million product. Would be multi-million pound product, to be honest with you, nowadays. And I think everyone's got £1 million product in them somewhere. How many times have people said, I wish they could do that. I wish you could have this. I wish you could have that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the difference is I wish you could do that is, anyone can say, I wish you can do that. But not a lot of people can turn that wish you can do that into how can you make that?
Yeah.
And see how it can be made and visualise that got to be made like that for it to fit there. That can't go like that because that material won't fold that way. It's got to be that way before it gets. If you can visualise that, then you've got a mind for development. I at the building trade, when I started working for Rob, we demolished an old barn and built a new office for him. And I remember we built it. He literally drew it on the back of a fag packet and said, "This is what we need, Rob." I guesstimated all the materials, how much concrete we need to make the slab and everything like that. And we built it, and it was literally right. I'll do that, and it just went up perfectly. And I remember one of Rob's mates come over, Ritchie came over, and he said, "Did you build this?" I went, "Yeah." He said, "No plans." I went, "No." He said, how on earth did you build that with no plans? I went, well, it was just in my head. I knew what to do. I knew in which order to do it in. You know, and we did that. And
that's
skill, the same in product development. You've got to visualise not just the product, but how you can make that product.
Mm.
So, you know, it's...
But surely there comes a point where, and I'm talking more recent times, where there's been launches of a lot of products, and I'm definitely not the most product development minded of people, where it's saturated with ideas, with new products, with £1 million ideas being made already. How do you then facilitate something completely fresh that is...
That's the hardest thing nowadays.
Yeah.
I think when I got into product development, there was a lot of things you could do. Nowadays, there's so many ideas out there, so many things. There's not many avenues to bring out something that's completely different.
Mm.
So I think I'm just thinking now. You can tweak and develop anything.
Yeah.
But to think of something completely different is a lot difficult nowadays. You know, you can make something better, but again, it's what's it. But I think everything you show me a product, and I think I could probably improve it.
What are your thoughts on the sort of status of product development and sort of, if you like, trends and fads that we've seen over carp angling in recent times?
Well, what's the biggest trend is the Ronnie rig, isn't it? You know, and every company bringing out certain things to suit the Ronnie rig, and it is a very, very, very effective rig. You know, and I think it's good because it's easy.
Yeah,
it's very, you know, mechanical. You know, it's a metalwork thing. You know, 20 years ago, people were like, oh, it's too much metalwork on there. But nowadays, because it's so easy to put together, that's what it is. I mean, I've just done a feature in Carpology about rigs and old rigs and how they've developed. And there were so many rigs out there that I think nowadays, if you're going to develop a rig, just make sure it's easy to tie, and it will be one of the future rigs. If it's easy to tie and works, then it'll be one for the, you know, the masses will get on it. Because if you come up with a rig and it's difficult to tie, then people are going to, oh, I don't like this one, it's too hard. And I found that out with product development as well. If you've got to educate somebody to use something,
it's not going to happen.
There's less people going to use it. The clever ones will go, oh, I'll use that because I need something like that to work, to make something else work. But if you've got to sit down and say, this is how this works, then a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not sure. I'll buy one, see how I get on, and then if I don't like it, I'll revert back to what I was used to. It's got to be simple you know, for the majority of anglers out there. And I don't do anything different to the majority of anglers out there. I'm no special. I don't use anything different to anybody else. Everything is off the shelf. You know, yes, I'm testing stuff. I've got the privilege of testing stuff, and I'm, you know, being the first to use it. But don't forget the stuff that, you know, this new Syndicate stuff, if you're not happy with it, I've used it, and I've used it for 2 years, and I ain't had a problem with it yet. So sometimes I find that it could be user error.
Yeah.
Somebody may not tie things correctly. You know, they might not, you know, there's quite a few things. But of course, you know, when it all comes out, I've done loads of videos, how-to videos, little rig videos.
Yeah, of course.
So those will be coming out next year. So you'll see my ugly face telling you, only a small amount of my ugly face, telling you how to tie certain rigs and my spin on a few things. There's a rig in there that's a bit different, you know, and the new hooks are in there. So it's promising, but Syndicate have got some really good in tattle bits coming out. But yeah, the leads are nice. The leads are really nice.
It's fair to say, like, and I'm probably skipping forward here, you, career-wise, if you like, or sort of media front-facing stuff, there was a period of time where you weren't really in the limelight, and then over recent years, there's a little bit of a resurgence. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think when I started working for Rob,
yeah,
you were catapulted into the limelight because you were rubbing shoulders with everybody. You were rubbing shoulders with the media, you know, the magazines. You were then doing features in magazines. I met Tim Paisley then in that World Cup at Fisherville, 2000. He fished. There was a pairs event, and he was fishing with Steve Briggs.
He won it, didn't he?
And they won it, yeah. But during that event, I remember because I was just there as a not even a runner. I just travelled with Rob and Simon and everybody.
Okay.
Excuse me. And I was just there just for the laugh. I just got invited to go, which was brilliant, you know. And I remember Tim saying, "You any good taking photographs?" I said, "Yeah, not too bad. I can get them in focus, you know." And he gave me his camera and said, "Just go around taking photographs of the event and us catching fish and everything." So I did that. And then they won. And he asked me, he says, "Do you like your winter fishing?" I went, "Yeah, I love the winter fishing. It's nice." He says, "Oh, do you want a Birch Grove ticket?"
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah. It was a week on, week off rota.
Yeah.
4 on, 4 off, you know. So I jumped at the chance of doing that. And then Frank Warwick was in that syndicate, in that rota. So me, Crowe, Rob, and Frank Warwick. And I'd met Frank previously doing the Carp Society. I mean, going back into the 80s and not early 90s, again, the Carp Society regional shows in the winter, they were brilliant. You know, you were sitting there and Frank Warwick were there and he, you know, talking about all these latest rigs, and I was just like, that's me. You know? That's what I want to do. I want to keep tweaking rigs and making stuff, you know. And him showing me that his short rig, which was the precursor to the chod.
Chod, yeah, exactly.
And I think you got an image there. There's an image there of a stow pool, Litchfield stow pool. It was a 2-tone mirror. That was the first fish of the first few hours of fishing that rig. I caught. It was like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and that was and then when I've joined the Birch Grove, Frank turned up and straight away he was like, "This is the rig you need to be on, and these are the hook baits you need to be on." Okay, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah. Cheers, Frank.
So it was the long shank hook with a shrink tube kicker.
Yeah.
Just a normal hair rig, combi rig. So it was a coated hook link, stripped at the one end, long shank hook, traditional, never lets you down type of rig.
Classic
Frank
Warwick.
Still doesn't let you down.
Yeah.
Still weren't catching, you know. Still like struggling a little bit. Bear in mind, it is winter.
Yeah.
So the first season wasn't smashing the place up. The second season, it all clicked in. The luck. I had all the luck. It just happened. I always think it's luck. Right?
You always think it's luck?
Yeah.
So you didn't change anything? Same rig?
Yeah, I changed.
Is it luck then?
I did change. The weird thing about it was that the fish weren't active during the day, but they were active at night. The only way you knew they were active at night is if you were up. And I happened to be up at 1 o'clock because you're in bed asleep at 7:30. So you have to have a toilet break in the middle of the night when you're in bed that long. So I'm up and I had fish roll. Then it was podosh, then podosh. Bloody hell, they're active. And I'm trying to look at it. It's a small lake, so you can visualise where they are. And right, they're there. So I didn't reel in. You could use 4 rods as well. I didn't reel in, just left them there. So the next day, in the morning, I've chucked 2 of them into the spots where the fish were rolling. Right? And I still didn't have anything that day. But the following day, I didn't reel in. I had a take. So, I'd caught one. Brilliant. So I'm now trying to find location-wise, that's where they are, because they were showing again that night in the same area, but I only got the pickup at like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the third day. So I thought, well, it's 3 days. Those baits have been out there 3 days. Maybe, I'll try something on 2 rods the following session. So before I went, little tub of lake water, sealed in there, went back. 1 rotor, you miss a week, then you come back the following week. 48 hours before going, I put some hook baits in that tub. and they were soaking for 48 hours in that lake, its own lake water. Took them to the same spots within an hour take.
Mad.
And the fresh ones, as in the full fat versions, as I'd call them, nothing. So now things are going, Now I remember this Patshull days that was also the case. You could turn up on a Friday, and if you stopped till Monday morning, you had extra takes on the Monday morning over the bait that you put in. Maybe because it was all particles and all being boiled in tap water, maybe, this is just me thinking out there, maybe it took the 48 hours for the lake to flush out any chemical that was in fluoride, whatever was in that tap water that boiled the tiger nuts and hemp before they really got on it. Or it could have just been pressure from the anglers. There was less pressure on a Monday morning because everyone had gone.
Everyone's gone, yeah.
I don't know, but that's happened. So, this happened on birch. So I'd have another one, and these were like mid-20s, 30-pounders through the winter.
Jeez.
So Rob would come down to take photographs, right? And he would quite happily, so fair play to him, he'd come down. It was a 15-minute drive, 20-minute drive, and he would come down, take photographs, and then go back. And I said, "Oh, you want to come next session? You're missing out. They're having it." He said, "Oh, all right then." So I've turned up, and I've got the helipad, middle of the lake, where the fish was. So I'm on them anyway, to a degree. And Rob's gone in the first peg. I forget the name of that one. And I've even got, "Here, Rob, have some of my hook baits. This is what I've been catching. I'm only fishing singles." And he's used them, but they were the full fat versions, and
your little washed out specials.
These washed out ones.
Yeah.
Pineapple, N-butyric acid, not metamino, it's the mainline stim stuff, multi-stim.
Oh, yeah.
The red
liquid.
Oil. Yeah. The red liquid it is. It works really well with pineapple. And they were an orangey yellow mixed boilie, right? But they were proper washed out, so quite toned down. And take. And Rob didn't catch. And that happened for a couple of 3 sessions. And basically, he was doing the work for me. I was just making sure that this washed out was the way.
He was your control, wasn't he, basically? Yeah.
And it worked. And then I had to tell him, right? And fair play, he laughed.
Yeah.
He laughed, fair play. But I remember Tim was down and he was up on the big board further up the one session. He did a couple of nights with me. And that night, again, I would purposely wake up, kettle on, 12 till 2, having a cup of tea and listening. Because wherever the fish was shown, that's where my rods were going the following day. And Tim was on, and the fish were really active. But I caught in the night this time. But I'll come back to that why I caught in the night in a minute. And in the morning, he comes down. And I says, he goes, "Oh, morning." I says, "Morning." I says, "Oh, they were actually active last night." And he says, "Were they?" I says, "Oh yeah, about 1 o'clock. They were crashing all over the place, everywhere." So, "Oh, you should have woke me up." I says, "Tim, I'm not. Yeah, I don't want to walk up there and wake you up in the middle of the night." No. When you do, if it happens tonight, let me know. That night, they were crashing again. I didn't go and ask him, but I'd had another 30 in the night, so there was 2 30s. And he said, "Oh, you should have woke me up." So I'm sorry, Tim. I just don't feel it's right for me to come and just wake you up just to listen to the fish. So he packed up and gone. I moved into his peg, and that night I'd had another 30 out of his peg. And what I'd realised that night, because you got 4 rods, you got plenty of things to try. You knew your washed out baits were going to work, but you couldn't catch at night. The rods were in the area they were crashing.
Despite all that activity.
And all that activity, I couldn't catch on the pineapple N-butyric multi-stim in the day. But I switched to a dark brown fish meal, a full fat, not a washed out.
Not a washed out.
Caught at night. I caught on dark baits at night and washed out ones during the day. I could not catch on the ones I was catching in the day, I couldn't catch at night. The moment I switched 2 rods onto a fish meal,
same.
In the same areas, the same rig, same what's here, I'd catch. I could not work that out.
No.
But it worked.
Just keep doing it.
So I kept doing it. So I was catching in the day now, and so at night, brown, in the day was me washed out, what's it, and I was catching. I think I had about 15 or 16 30s that season, that winter season. Bear in mind, it was November to March and rotated, so you're only in half the time.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And 2 night sessions.
Wow.
So yeah, that worked out. That was an incredible few months. That was. It was just one of them. Everything you did worked. It was just one of them. It's never happened since. You know,
you've done all right, mate.
No, but it's never been that.
Yeah, that.
I've worked it out.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe, I mean, again, the washed out thing. I don't think I've fished a washed out since.
No.
But how many times? I mean, there'll be people watching this. There'll be the one person watching this now, right? Just the one person. And maybe that if you're fishing for 48 hours and you keep your rods, the same rigs, same bait on, don't reel them in, and you have a take at the end of the session, how many times do you look at that bait, if it's still on, check it in the margins? Was it a pop-up when you cast it out, but it now sinks slowly to the bottom? Mm-hmm. So basically that fish has picked up a critically balanced bait.
Yeah.
Didn't want to pick up a pop-up. What's the colour of that bait compared to when it was fresh? Has it completely toned down to a grey, washed-out colour, or is it still quite vibrant? If it's toned down and it's now sitting on the bottom as a wafter, critically balanced bait, you've got to think to yourself, okay, at least one rod next week's got to go on a toned down one wafter.
Straight away, yeah.
But how many people, if the bait is still on, has checked it in the margin to see, oh, it's still popped up. I've gone, oh, drop it in, still popped up. I'm using that same bait because I know this fish has picked that bait up. So I've dropped it in the edge, it's still popped up, I'll chuck it out. If it's still on and the hook's sharp enough and it's dropped down to balance, I'm still chucking it out because it's picked up a balance bait, not a pop-up, which was intended to be a pop-up to start with, which dropped out. But how many people are actually checking that?
Not a great deal, mate, I'd imagine.
Don't know. But it's worth, just literally check next time you've caught a fish, check your rig in the margins with the same bait on. Has the bait changed colour? Has it changed buoyancy? If it hasn't, fair enough. If it has, put another rod on with the same.
Yeah.
Like for like, you know.
Nice.
Just a little thing to try.
Into the mind of shoes.
The small, uneducated mind of shoes.
No, mate, it's a fascinating place, mate, that. There's a lot in there. We haven't even got on to, that. I wanted to talk, as we're in sort of that chapter, although we've sort of segued and I've taken you everywhere. Husey, Crowy, those days where you boys worked together but by association sort of went to various places. What are your fond memories about that gang and generally being around them for a period of time?
Rob is an out-and-out businessman.
Yeah.
He's very intelligent. Oof. You know, there are people that can use long words. I can't use long words to describe things, right? Because I don't know what them long words mean. That's why I said the uneducated part of me. I can't. You'll never hear me use a long word because if I attempt to use a long word, I'll cock it all.
Attempt was a struggle there.
Very, very. And I've been in the same office and listening to Rob sell stuff. We can do this, we can do that, we can do this. He could sell he could sell snow to the Eskimos, Rob could. And Crowy was an out-and-out fisherman. His total focus is fishing, you know, and fair play to him for all those years. He's still doing it now, isn't he? You know, you see him on social media. He is focused fishing all the time, and he's catching wherever he goes, and he makes it look so simple.
Ridiculous.
From his rigs to everything, but he's got that knack, you know. It doesn't bore him out. He goes and catches them.
Mate, he's the one person that I've been out on the bank with and probably had the biggest surprise because I thought there'd be some witchcraft. It's not.
You know, when you're on about, I change all the time.
Yeah.
He hasn't changed for years and years and years. Yeah. It's like, why break a winning formula?
Yeah.
You know, it's a 4-4-2 system and it works and he sticks to that 4-4-2.
Yeah.
You know. So fair play to him, you know, he can do it. Rob, I don't think Rob's as good as Crowy, partly because Rob probably doesn't put the same amount of effort in as Simon does. Again, effort equals reward. We talked about earlier, what I think that probably the in-form angler in the country, if not Europe at the moment, is Tom Maker.
Oh, machine.
You know, and that lad is just it's just I just every time I see there's another big. He's catching it everywhere he goes.
It's not one big one though. It's just like 440s.
Oh,
in like, it's an average session for me now. 440s. What?
And it's
mental.
It is phenomenal the way it's a big word. The way that lad can do it. I mean, I've known Tom and his dad from his British Championship days when Tom used to turn up with his dad. And what he's done now is fair play to him. And he comes across really good on camera as well now, doesn't he? Talking about everything. So he's, mate, I wouldn't.
He's brilliant.
I would love to be a fish behind him.
Yeah.
You know, mate. He's on top of it at the moment. And that is down to, it's like anything in any sport. The more you do, the better you become. And if you're sitting on your arse at home thinking about going fishing, you're never going to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And there's many times that you sit there and you think, I can't be arsed this week. I don't feel it. And if you don't feel it, you're only going through the motions when you're there. You've got to get excited. And there are peaks and troughs in your whole life that I've done it. I've gone, I just can't be bothered. I mean, sometimes you're talking to anglers about fishing when I was working for Rob, and you then decide, I can't be bothered to go fishing. You know, I've talked about it so much, I just can't be bothered. And then you just have to work through it. You've got to get excited about going.
Yeah.
You need to get that little excitement on the way to the lake, you know. And when you've got that, I think when you've got that, there's a better chance of catching.
Yeah, of course. You fish better, 100%.
Yeah. If you just then you're not. I'll just drop in here and chuck them out. You know, when you're feeling a little bit excited, you spend more time finding the pegs. You're looking for them. So yeah, Tom's got that. I think he's trudding something very special. The golden turd he's trudding.
He's just a machine, mate.
Fair play to him.
But he's worked hard. He's an absolute. Yeah, he'd catch them everywhere as well.
Yeah, he does.
Ridiculous.
Put him on anywhere. I'd put him on any lake and guarantee he'll come up trumps.
Yeah, top
quite
ball.
Quickly as well.
Yeah,
he seems to work them out mega quick. Anyway, I had enough about him.
Let's get him on.
Fair play, Rob. We're working for Rob. He opened doors, and fair play to Rob. Thank you ever so much, Rob, for letting me come to work for him. To be honest with you, he opened the doors for me into the industry, and we got loads of trips around the world. You know, we were flying off to South Africa. I think one year, we worked it out that one day of every week of the year or something, we were in the air one year. You know, we were flying somewhere.
Result.
You know, we were China a couple of times. We were South Africa, America. You know, we were flying into Europe, different venues into Europe as well. And it was just amazing. The air miles we put on. And it never cost a penny. You know, it was all paid for trips. And it was brilliant going to that. I mean, I mentioned to you the other day about that trip. He organised a media trip to New York State. And it was organised, it was all paid for by New York State Tourist Board. Now, I mean, how on earth did he get New York State Tourist Board to pay for our trip? I don't know, mate. I'll leave it to him. But, you know, he did his Ed Winchester approach. You remember that on the Fast Show? Hi, I'm Ed Winchester. And that was it. Yeah, no, lads, no problem, lads. You come over. So we all went down to Gatwick, got on United Airlines, I think it was. They flew us to New York, to JFK. We got off JFK, went into New York, stopped a night in New York and a day, and we had a walk around. And at the time, I'm a little bit uneasy getting on aeroplanes, get a bit clammy and a bit.
Okay.
I don't like turbulence. And it's strange with the amount of miles we were doing in the air.
Yeah, you thought you'd be.
I was so lucky we hardly have any turbulence. I mean, Rob and Crowe came back from South Africa once, and they said their heads were hitting the ceiling. It was so rough, and I never had a bad flight, which was good. So anyway, we've organised this trip. There's about 5 or 6 of us going, so we've all flown off to New York. And of course, I'm saying, "Oh, lads, I don't even like glass elevators, so I don't like the visual. What's it? It's the speed thing. I don't go on fairground rides.
Really?
I don't know what it is. Everyone's got a phobia.
Yeah.
My phobia is being a passenger in a fast car.
If you're driving it, you're right.
If I'm driving it, I'm fine.
Ah.
So anyway, walking around New York, a couple comes up. do you want to go on a helicopter run around the harbour? Now, the Twin Towers are up. This was May 2021. That's 2001.
Right.
May time. So the Twin Towers were still
there. Still.
And do you guys want to go on a helicopter ride? What's it, you know? And this was the Australian accent. Yeah. Do you the thing is, you go to America and they say, "You from Australia?" And they honestly do say that. So anyway, yeah, I'm the first one. Yeah, that'll be ace. Statue of Liberty, down the harbour, everything. We'll do that.
You've lost your head.
And then Crowie's gone, "You don't like glass elevators?" Yeah. That is one glass. And I went, "Oh shit!" Now I'm clamming. I am now going, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I've made a mistake here. But anyway, we get down to the river, the heliport. We're all sitting there. So they tell you about all the health and safety thing. And now I'm
bricking it.
So we get on the helicopter and there was the pilot and another seats, the pilot and another seat. Then there was I think there was a row of three and a row of three. So I said, I'm going at the back in the middle. Right. So I'm going to sit in the middle of it. I don't want to watch it. Of course, it takes off, and it takes off like that. Then it does this, and it was like, oh, this is all right. Oh, I'm happy with this. This is fine. This is no drama. What? So we're up the Hudson, up to the Statue of Liberty, and, you know, you're up at the height of the...
Yeah.
Having a look around. Brilliant. And Rob's taking photographs. But Matt, then it was film. It was slide camera still. He didn't have a digital camera, and Rob was the only one with the camera. So he's taking stills, and he's got his things on. Of course, Rob's at the front with the pilot.
Yeah.
Right? He's got that on. That's it. And, of course, as we've gone round the Statue of Liberty, I don't know if anyone's done this, they have to turn round. You think they go all the way round and come back?
Yeah.
They turn round, and a helicopter turning round, they have to do some... So he banks up like that. So you're virtually looking at the sky. Next thing, the tails come round and you drop back down again like a roller coaster ride. I am screaming.
Yeah.
Down that point. G, because I think it must be the G, whatever it is, I don't like. And he went, "Ew," and I went, "You." But on the level, fine. So we're all, it's brilliant. Twin Towers are there and all New York skylines there, and we're coming down the Hudson. And I've happened to look out the window and I went, "That's our heliport. We've gone past it." Then it went, we've got to turn around again.
Go round.
So now I'm looked at foot and Rob's going, he's talking to the pilot. He's going. So then Rob looks behind like, and he goes, "Hold on." And I went, "Oh." So I'm there. And he's just gone straight up, and he's literally stopped, flicked the background, and then started background again. Scream all the way down. But then finally, I did the Pope, and I got off. I kissed the floor and everything. But yeah, that was funny. Again, that day we got a taxi, or they picked us up to JFK again to get on a JetBlue, which is like EasyJet in America. It's called JetBlue, to Syracuse.
Right.
It's a big city in New York State where there's lakes. There's a big lake on there, and they have a big bass tournament and everything. And I remember we arrived. We arrived there. When we got on the plane, there was about 12 people on the plane. This was pre 9/11, and security was a lot lax.
Yeah.
So we get on. There was about 12 people on the plane. There were 6 of us getting on, and there was about 10 people at the front. And there was a young lady sitting by herself, aisle seat, right? Aisle seat of 3, so 3. She was an aisle seat halfway up the plane, and me being cocky, very cocky and confident.
Really?
I walks up to her, right, and I said, "Is anyone taking that window seat?" And she went, "No, be my guest." So I sat there. So I started talking to her while I was there. The English accent works out there for some reason. They don't know the difference in a Brummie accent.
Brummie, mate. They don't know what you're saying.
They don't know what a Brummie accent is to a Southern accent, and they all think that you live in London.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
I'm talking to her, telling her what we're doing, and so on and so forth. And she turns out she's a JetBlue stewardess, coming up to Syracuse to meet her family and friends. Right? Brilliant. Okay. I'm thinking, you have to show us around, show us what nightlife there is, and blah, blah, blah. This is, I'm in here. One of the lads, he's talking to the stewardesses at the back. It's like a school bus thing. He went straight to the back of the plane.
Yeah.
And he's talking to him, and I kept on looking over, and he was going, and I'm like, what's he up to? So he gets back, he lands, and he comes up to me. He says, just hold on a second.
Who's this? Who's coming?
A mate of mine who was with us. He said, just hold on a second. I says, why? This girl had got off. He said, just hold on a second. The stewardess, you're just going to ask the pilot. I said, what do you mean ask the pilot? What have we done? What have you done?
Yeah.
And so Rob's now being held back. He's on the stairs, on the exit, on the ramp getting out. And he's going, what are you doing? And there's 3 stewardesses are sitting there, standing there. One of them's gone into the pilot. The pilot's come out and he's gone, yeah, lads, no problem. You can do that. And I says, what have we done? And the stewardess says, we've arranged for you guys to come down to Fort Lauderdale for the whole weekend because we're all JetBlue stewardesses are having a big party.
You're joking.
So you can join us if you like, and we'll bring you back up on Monday.
Oi, what a weekend that is,
Shazzy. And for once, I never said, is it going to cost us anything because of the flight? It was basic, no, we'll fly you down to Fort Lauderdale and we'll fly you back for free.
What? Right? To go to an air stewardess party?
Yeah.
Oi, this is a better podcast than carp fishing.
Right. And I'm like, yeah. It never once said, how am I going to get back home? How am I going to do this? I'm like, yeah, I'm going.
You did go?
It's a one-off opportunity to go and spend the weekend with a load of air,
Oh, how did that go, Shazzy? Come on.
Well, 2 of us were going. But the bloke who organised the trip, Rob, lads, we can't because New York State Tourist Board have paid for this trip and we've got obligations to do blah, blah, blah. So we can't go.
Come on, Rob.
And I'm like, but the first thing that then, when Rob says we can't, I've then, right, okay, grab my bag, run down the stairs looking for that other girl that was the stewardess that run off. I've just managed to see her and literally, 20 foot away from her, this big, massive, like American footballer chap comes and greets her and gives her a hug. Oh. And I just went, U-turn and just turn around.
Got to go carp fishing. The tourist board have paid me to be here.
Yeah. So, what are we doing then, lads? Are we going fishing or what? It was like that. But yeah, that was. There's a few other.
So you didn't go to Fort Lauderdale?
We couldn't, mate. And I know some people will be saying, "Choose, you idiot." But at the end of the day, we were there to do a job for New York State Tourist Board. They paid for us. They didn't pay for us to go down and have a jolly up with the girls down in Fort Lauderdale.
It's one big jolly. You've been in a helicopter, mate, and seen the Twin Towers and stuff. That's not...
Well, it turned out we didn't get anything done that week anyway. But
brilliant.
At the end of the day, Rob got his camera got nicked.
He got nicked.
All those photographs of Twin Towers, the flights, everything, the carp we caught, everything, got the camera nicked. So, I mean, there's loads of little silly stories.
Is this like...
it's like the radio station. I was winding people up. When they have all these different lessers to make a something FM. Was listening to one radio and I kept on saying it's WANK, right? FM, and that was just the joke of. And the Americans didn't get it. They just thought it was a real radio station.
Jeez, mate. Like, that is a trip. That sounds quality, to be fair. I like the way you've actually said that he's lost his camera as well. It's been stolen. And really, you've just pied off any work and had a complete jolly up, haven't you, boys? And then pretended the camera.
No, Rob lost his camera. And the lucky thing about it was all insured. He got the digital version when he got it changed. I think he got the digital version out of it, not the DSLR, not the DSLR version, the stills. Actually got the digital version when he come back, but obviously we lost the memories, the photographic memory of the trip.
Yeah,
we got it in there.
Yeah,
but there was no
good
truth of what's it. I mean, we were going up the Empire State Building, and because the cameraman we had one of the big massive ones, they wouldn't let us up. It's like, have you got a permit for that camera? I mean, no, you need a permit and all this, so we couldn't go up the Empire State.
What?
Because you couldn't take a big camera with you.
Yeah. Still, though, mega though. That sounds fun, mate.
Mate, it was brilliant. We fished so many different lakes. There's a thing called the Finger Lakes, and they're shaped like fingers, and there's 4 or 5 of them, and they've all got carp in there.
Yeah.
And it's just that we didn't have enough time to really fish, and we just went bang, 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 and fished all these different venues. But it was a good trip. A very good trip.
So from working with Rob, your career, how did things progress?
Well, we set up Venture then, didn't they? Rob, Simon, right. Briggsy and that set up Venture. So that's when the product development side of things started, at mid-2000.
Was that mid-2000, was it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So into product from there. But still at this point, you're still doing a bit of photography, definitely at this point.
We're filming still. We're doing DVDs. You know, we had another trip to America, me, Rob and Briggsy. We're filming out there, and we had the Carp Show on Sky Sports. We were filming the Carp Show on Sky Sports, me and Rob, and whoever guest he has on.
Yeah.
You know, I was filming and being on it as well, which was nice. And then we had obviously DVDs in the middle of all that. Then we were filming the British Carp Angling Championships, so they were all televised. So that's, you know, when TV stuff started off.
How was that for you? Presenting?
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant, that was.
Yeah.
You know, to have, I mean, Ali Hamidi turned up the once, just finishing his university.
Yeah.
And he had to do that end of year, whatever they have to do. Dissertation. And Rob Hughes was one of them, to talk about Rob.
Yeah.
And he came in and interviewed Rob, and we got friendly with Ali.
Yeah.
And Ali was he's a Liverpool supporter, and he fair play to him. He said, "You want to go to the Champions League games, Liverpool? I'll meet you at the such and such a service station. We'll go. I'll pick you up. We'll go to the evening. We'll get the tickets. And we'll go." And fair play to him. Every home game in the Champions League for a couple of seasons, we were going to Anfield and cheering on Liverpool. You know, and Ali was picking us up and going. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
You know? And Ali had got I think he did works experience down at Sky Sports, and he got a contact.
Yeah.
And that contact obviously was Rob got to know him, and then we got into Sky. So that was an amazing, you know, going down to Sky in their studios and even sitting there in their canteen with all ex-footballers, footballers of the day, all Jeff Stelling and all the top presenters.
But that's when TV's massive now, don't get me wrong, but that's when it was massive in terms of like people actually watch TV more than YouTube or any other platform. It wasn't even existing at that point, probably. No. But that was at its very peak. You had tight lines, you had all that subsequently.
There was no social media hadn't kicked off then.
Mad.
It would have, started, Facebook would have started, but it was just, what on earth's this?
Yeah.
You know, and phones weren't sophisticated like they are now. You used to get a text message, and that was about it, really. But yeah, that was brilliant. I was going down to Sky and sitting in their studios with one of their editors, editing the stuff that you filmed. That was. And
the filming side of stuff just come natural, your own sort of learning.
I think if you're creative enough and got an eye, you can do it. You know, if you can frame something nice, you can be a photographer or a videographer. That's where the videographer comes from. You know, you're a video and photographer.
But you've not had any official sort of qualification training with regards to all that, have you? You just learnt off your own back.
I mean, are there any?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could go and do like a visual arts, or you could do
but I think
videography course or whatever.
Experience, and I think if you can operate the camera and make the image look all right, then you're halfway there, aren't you?
There's an art to it in fishing, mate, I think. Definitely. Like, I don't think I've been on shoots with people that are great, let's say, daytime TV cameraman, big camera on a tripod, fixed view, but you've got a cameraman who's been out with anglers and there's things moving and they know where to look and that's a real skill.
Yeah. I don't think if somebody came from doing a movie, you know, a Hollywood movie, would have to sit and learn and do their research first before they can get. Actually, you want to give the view what the angler wants to see, don't you? You know, that locked off view is all right, but you need another one or two cameras with different angles, don't you?
Yeah.
Hence
these bad
Hence
boys.
the seven cameras you've got on here.
Yeah. 7. Yeah, where are the other 7?
have we still got enough time on that one?
Yeah, we're all right, mate, for time. You're doing very well. For you, then the whole social media boom and that massive change, how did you find that in terms of adjusting? What adjustments did you...
I wish the British Championships, social media came out when the British Championships was about.
Yeah?
That would have catapulted that tournament much more. We'd have had live updates and keep everyone up to date what's going on and live reports and everything. Do you know what I mean? There's so much you can do. But it was all... the following week in Carp Talk.
Yeah.
And I'd have to do the reports on the venues that I'd been researching, and Rob was doing one weekend, doing on one, running one event, and I'll be doing another, or I'll be doing this one, or I'll be doing the next three, or whatever. And I have to do all the reports, send them off to Paddy Webb with stills.
Jeez.
Send the stills off to get there in time.
That is long.
So yeah, that was it was good though. It was really good though.
Well, that was the only way.
Yeah, it was.
But that time where it changed,
I'm going to reposition again.
Yeah, you reposition, mate. How did you find sort of adjusting with regards to all that? Because obviously your career then was, you did a lot of sort of freelance bits and bobs of filming around, didn't you?
Yeah, I think we talked about it before, about what's changed nowadays with anglers being in magazines. We were privileged to be in magazines. We had, if the editor wanted you to be in that magazine, it was a pleasure to be asked.
Yeah.
And of course they paid you back then as well.
Yeah.
They don't pay you nowadays. Well, they don't pay me anyway, right? So once you were in, you wanted to stay in there because you got a little bit of extra. And of course, when you're in magazines, tackle companies like you as well, So you were getting free bits and pieces, and that's when you start getting nice free bits and pieces, and that's nice, Free bait is the first thing. Yeah. If you can get free bait, then brilliant. To get free tackle, that's a pleasure, and I feel so lucky that I don't think I've paid for any big items of tackle for 20 odd years, 25 years even.
It's an illustrious shoplifting career, that is, mate.
10 off. It's like the only thing that I have paid for trade are reels.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the likes of Shimano and Daiwa don't want to give me any reels. It's quite sad.
You're digging them out here now. That you've squashed all chance of getting any freebies out of them for the future. Unbelievable, shoot.
From that is what we said about, if you're an up and coming angler nowadays, there's a lot you can do, but you're also competing by thousands and thousands of other people now. In a magazine, you write a feature in a magazine, you're in there and you're sharing it with, like I said before, 12, 15 other anglers that month. And if you're in every month, you're one of 12, 15 anglers all through the year. Nowadays, you put those fish pictures up there and you're sharing them with thousands of people.
It's saturated.
Yeah, there's rig photos going on every day. There's carp pictures going up every day. I find it really difficult now, and it's quite. Some people deserve more. There's sometimes you catch a big scaly fish. It would have made the front cover of Carp Talk and all that. Now it's just one of hundreds of thousands, well, not 100,000, but thousands of scaly fish in there, and it's so difficult to get on. So you've got to try and. You've got the younger lads now coming through. Anyone wants to come into the industry, get to know people that are already in the industry. Keep knocking on their door. If you're good at photography and videography and you can film yourself doing something to a decent standard and you're catching fish, don't have to be big. They don't have to be the biggest in the world, but consistency. Get onto a brand and buy their tackle and show a bit of loyalty to that brand. That company might say, actually, he uses our stuff for a start. He's very good, in front of camera. He's taking some very good stills. That's the person we want to get on. You just need to be that little bit better than everybody else on social media.
It is, yeah. I mean, the example probably is little Finn, who we've taken on pretty recently, but he's always been with us. He's a classic example of somebody who's just applied himself, knocked on the door, developed relationships, and now he's got where he's got, but without all that, if you'd have given up a bit sooner.
Mate, I said it, we're all lucky. Yeah. How many people in this industry, in fishing, do what we do?
Yeah.
It's a very, very small thing. Yeah. And I find myself very, very lucky.
Definitely.
That I'm working in an industry that is my hobby. And if it was if it was a spectator sport, we'd be rolling in money now. Absolutely minted. But it's fishing.
Yeah.
It's not a spectator sport. It's never going to be a spectator sport. But it's an industry that I love doing.
Yeah.
From a small age all the way up to still doing it now, And I'm still get so excited about it when a new product turns up. I'm ringing up Tracker saying, anything come in? Have we got those samples in yet? Have we got this? Have we got that? I need to see them. I'm like a kid at Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, they're not always right first time, but that's development. That's how you tweak them. But I need to say, oh, mate, that's brilliant. I will get so excited about stuff. As you can see, I can talk quite a lot about certain things. And I reckon the Tracker lads watching now will be thinking, yeah, every time he comes up, he don't stop talking.
They're good boys, the Tracker boys, man. They're a good bunch of lads.
Apparently, I like the sound of my own voice, Ben. But yeah, I just get passionate about things.
But that's got to be there. I think anybody.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's that bump.
Yeah.
When a product turns up that you've had a massive involvement in developing and what's it, you do get excited when you see it. I'm sure the other product development guys in all the other brands get the same thing.
Yeah, of course.
And it's such an amazing feeling when that product is put on a wall in a shop and you see it and you go, I did that. You know, I set that. I set that. You know, with when I started at Avid.
Yeah.
You know, I thought of the name. And
did you think of the name?
Yeah.
I didn't know that you thought of the name.
Yeah. It was that's a funny story.
Go on.
Well, Avid it is, if people know, Avid is a editing software. You've got Final Cut, you've got Premiere Pro, and there's Avid. Now, Avid, Rob had an Avid system. He bought it. Now we went all the way up to York to buy these two big computer monitors, the big screen, and all these. They're all coloured keyboards and all this with a jogging wheel and everything. It was an Avid system. And of course, Avid was stuck in my head for ages. And I remember when I started working for Preston's, and David Preston wanted me to start when he asked me to join them to start a carp brand. And we were thinking of names for a long time, and we didn't quite think of the name right at the beginning. So just before launch, obviously, we had to concentrate on the name. And I mentioned Avid in one of the first lists. No, I don't like that. So when we come to a year later and we had another list, we were going through, no. And I said Avid again. He went, no. And I says, hold on. Put a D in front of it. And he made David. So David Preston.
Yeah.
And he went, I like that. So that's
where
Avid came from. And it was a good thing because straight away with Avid, we're all avid anglers.
Avid, yeah.
You know, if you enjoy fishing, you're all avid anglers.
Yeah.
And that's how that started. So we started Avid Carpers magazine, which was a free magazine it was bi-monthly. So we brought out that magazine, all Avid products, all Avid anglers and everything. And the first thing I needed to do was to get somebody like Ian Russell in.
Yeah.
Knowing Ian from previously, bringing him in, he was just awesome. You know.
Yeah.
You know what he does. At like I said, at 70 years old as well, the lad is.
He's got some life, honey boy. He's a good bloke, real bloke.
So yeah, that's how that started, and then product development really took off then, and we were just anything. It was anything goes.
Yeah.
You know, David just said to me, just crack on, whatever you want to do, just do it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good times doing that, mate. It was. And seeing your range build up and having the shows with it all there and standing back and say, you know, and going on them road trips to France, to the shows like Zwalla and all them.
They're always a good scene, mate, aren't they?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
When Ian Russell's driving, it's comical.
Is he not a great driver?
No, it's brilliant because it's such a laugh. There's like three of us. There was like me, Jason Umney, and Ian Russell. And we were getting the van and it was just literally a comedy sketch all the way there. It was just funny all the way there. And I remember the one, we got the sat-nav on and Ian's driving and we were going, Ian, you got to go left here. This what's it? He says, I can't see the sat-nav. Because why not? I can't see it with these glasses on because he'd got normal glasses. Then he's got reading glasses, so we'd have to take them and put them on to read the sat-nav. And we were going, we've got all this far and you can't even read this. So yeah, it was just little silly things like that, you know. It's such entertaining. It makes a long journey go by.
Yeah. When you think about it and your career's what? How many years are we talking now?
What, since I started fishing or since
when you started working for Rob, what year is that?
99.
Yeah, so I mean a fair old stint. We're talking decades. As carp fishing is now, the sort of the fact that it's become more mainstream, the fact that there's social media influence. What are your thoughts and opinions of it now compared to what you've seen? Do you think all that is positive? Do you think any of it's detrimental? Do you think it's reached its sort of limits? Where do you sit on all that? I've asked various people these type of questions and I get different answers, which is good, I think. But I'm just interested because you've seen it for such a period of time. You've worked in media, and a lot of things are now media led and driven because of the nature of the times we live in. Where you think that is in respect to carp fishing overall?
I think if I was starting all over again, I'd struggle. If I was starting all again, I don't think the doors would have opened as much. Because social media, you're competing with everybody. Everybody that puts a picture up on social media. It is like what it is, isn't it? It's their gallery of, look what I'm doing, look what I've done. Everyone's showcasing what they're doing. I still think there's a place for magazines. There's only two going, really, isn't there? Total and Carpology. Yeah. It's a difficult one. I said if social media was going when the British Championship started, that would have made the championship bigger. But again, some people might have said, well, would it have done? Because it was all about going to the weekend events and having a laugh then. He wasn't airing it with anybody. So everyone wanted to go on because they hear in the grapevine it's such a good laugh. I don't know, mate. It's things have moved on so quickly.
Yeah.
What's around the corner? What else is going to happen? There's all these social media platforms now. As we were talking earlier, if you wanted to master one of them, it's a full-time job.
Yeah,
you've got to create all these reels and stories and be creative.
Do you think that's taken anything away from carp fishing for you?
I think a lot of people only do it for social media. There's too many thinking they're really big because they've got X amount of followers on Instagram. Just Instagram. They've got to have massive followers on Instagram. And you'd probably find 90% of them don't even... At the end of the day, if you've got 20,000 followers on Instagram, are 20,000 of them seeing your post? No, they're not seeing it. They're seeing loads, aren't they? So I think a lot of angling is done too much reliant on social media. And of course, when you represent a brand, you've got to keep trickling stuff onto social media to keep everyone happy. So a lot of brands are picking anglers that are already quite healthy on social media.
Yeah.
To help push their products along a bit more. It's free advertising. I say it's free advertising. They get free bits and pieces, or trade deal or whatever. But yeah, that's it. And being involved with the media side for Mainline.
Yeah.
And Mainline was an opportunity through the British Championships. Because Kev Knight fished the British Championships, and Kev was a scream back then. I didn't know he was the owner.
Yeah, of course not.
And there was just some Cockney bloke saying, "Shows, if you borrow my gear to my peg from my van, you can have all the bait left in the back of my van after the match." So all that weekend, I'll be saying single baits only this weekend, lads. You only need single baits.
Singles.
And I would be leaving that. I would, quite happily. I'll load it up and I'll carry the barrow. I'll move the barrow. I'll do it to anybody just help them out.
Yeah.
There it is. And there'd be those used to be big tubes, 10-kilo tubes of boilies, and there'd be like 6 or 7 of them in there. Can you tell? Yeah. I'd make sure they were going in the back. Even though I didn't have much freezer space back home, I took them back with me.
Yeah.
And I got get a relationship with Kev then.
Yeah.
And then that got me into using the bait anyway.
Yeah.
And when we started Avid, we had Sonu bait, so I had to come off.
Yeah.
But I rang Kev up then and said, "Kev, I'm sorry, I can't. I've got to go with Sonu because Sonu is part of Preston's. Yeah, no worries, mate. Whenever it changes, just give us a bell. And when it did change, I rang him up and he got me to come back. He said, yeah, come back. And then it moved on for me.
Yeah.
A bit of social media for him and filming and so on. And
one thing that I don't think I said this to you in the plan, but when I look at sort of things now in the industry, especially in terms of people that are quite seasoned and work in the media, there tends to be a recent trend of a lot of people sort of freelancing rather than being direct to one company. And I never really clicked, but I remember when I first met you when I was at Angling Direct and you were doing mainline shop days and you were doing bits for Tracker and here, and that is very much, you were like ahead of that curve because you were one of the first people to sort of do bits for various companies. It might not be in a freelance format, but you sort of spread through your contacts, didn't you?
I probably learnt a lot from Rob.
Yeah.
Doing work for various. So when I went self-employed, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm, a young, thick, brummy lad that liked a bit of fishing and has when the doors opened, I've took those little chances and I've got to where I am doing this. I'm never going to be the top of the tree, never going to be, the Ballon d'Or winner. Do you know what I mean? But I'm happy being part of the team.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're being pretty modest, mate. Like that's a long career and over a lot of changes.
And hopefully, I've got quite a few.
Well, that's what I mean. But even now, if it ended
I'll need
tomorrow,
to, mate, because pension wise, I'll need to carry on.
You've been siphoning off boilies, mate. You have, and bibbies. You'll be all right for your pension. I know you should. But in terms of your career thus far, if it ended tomorrow, mate, that is an awful lot of time with an awful lot of changes, and you've remained in very firm positions, like you said, in the game. For you, when you look at sort of the future, and I sort of said earlier in this podcast that, and this is not to sort of put you on the spot in any way, but there was a period of time where we saw you behind the camera, and then in more recent times, you referenced a Carpology article, there's appearances with product coming in the new year, where you've started to step out and probably do a bit more in front of camera.
Yeah.
Again. Any reason for that?
Again, it's self-pushing.
Yeah?
You've got to get off your arse and do it, haven't you? Offer. Can I do that? Any chance I can do this? I'll write that feature. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, someone's got to ask you, with the videos doing, I'll do them. I'll film myself doing rig, top-down camera shot, rig demonstrations and so on. And then Carpology, Joe was saying, do you want to do some features? Yeah, I'll carry on doing some features. So, yeah, it's all about doing it yourself. If you don't do it, well, you ain't going to do it, are you? I was thinking about the bucket list. I mentioned the bucket list the other week about, certain things you'd like to go and do and go and watch England play in a World Cup overseas, England, a test match in Australia, certain things like that, Olympic Games, such inspiration, those Olympians, when they, go and watch Olympic Games. Doesn't matter if it's clay pigeon shooting or flipping dog wrestling.
Dog wrestling? It's the Birmingham Olympics.
It's the Birmingham one. That'll be the Commonwealth Games next year.
Yeah.
But who's stopping me doing it?
Just
no
you.
one.
Just you, mate.
Yeah. So, I mean, if some young lad wants to write in a magazine, write a little feature, send it off to the magazine and see what the editors say. I think I did that years and years ago, wrote a feature. I remember, I think it was one of the magazines, Catch More Carp or something. And I remember in Foster's the one saying, how do I get a feature in there? And one of the lads says, just write a feature, send it to them, and if they like it, they'll use it. And I think I wrote it to them. I sent it to them, and they liked it and used it. And then
from there,
it was Jim Foster was the editor back then, and he used me a few times.
It's interesting, mate. Like, so true. So there's so many facets to you. One thing that I saw, and I've got to point this out, mate, because that is like, we've talked product development. We need to talk. You were telling you've put rig safety on my plan, so we need to go back and address that.
Mate, rig safety.
But before we go to rig safety, one thing that is very quirky and a bit out of left field, and I was like, "Really? Is that you? You were sort of painting a a carp, mate, a taxidermy carp, weren't you?
I had a plaster cast from a mould of a common carp, about 20-pounder common carp. It was in a glass case, but it was just like a cheap alternative to a real stuffed.
Oh, okay.
What's it? So it was basically a dead common. They'd made a mould out of it, half of it. Literally, then poured that mould with the plaster Paris, and that obviously set to all the detail of the common. But it was just literally sprayed like a light brown mustardy colour and put in a box, and that was it, with a bit of greenery. And I'd had that for years and years and years. I was going to get somebody originally to paint it.
Yeah.
But I just kept it for years and years. And it wasn't painted. So I just kept it for years and years and years and years and years. And it got further and further to the back of the garage and the shed and, And moving house this year, it was there. So I've cleaned it up and I thought, I'll get somebody to paint that. Be nice, that will. Put it in my office. So I thought, after looking at it, I'll tell you what, I'll do some research. So I did some research, and acrylic paints was the ones to use, and then you can varnish it with a spray varnish afterwards. I'll have a go myself. I'll have a go. I've done a bit of painting in the past, and I painted. And to be honest with you, mate, I was well impressed.
Is that a bit of you now?
Well, I haven't got any more to do.
But would you? Would you?
If I had another one. Oh yeah, if I had another one, I'd do it. I really enjoyed doing it. I got slightly obsessed with it. I really kept on. I was going, I better go to bed. I'm still doing this, But yeah, it looks superb.
You got some little.
When you've put an image up now, aren't you? And that's
it's good.
I was happy with that. I'm not happy with the way it's mounted. I'd like to have a bit more greenery and a bit more. Maybe I'll paint the background and make it look a little bit better in the future. But the fish is I like that.
He's got some talent, hasn't you, mate?
Well, there's a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely. If I did that, it would not look like a carp. I'll tell you that now, mate.
Mate, to be honest with you, I thought, well, this is the way I'll paint it. And I started off with all the darks first, the shadows, and to put the black layer down first. So I painted all between all the scales all the black bits, and then built up the layers on top. And then the highlights and everything, and then literally went over again just to tone everything down to make it shade to the top. And yeah, it was.
Nice class, that is.
I was getting excited at times.
We'll probably leave that to you and your private thoughts, Shusey. But mate, I'm telling you, that is credit to you, because if I painted that, it looked like the devil meets Finding Nemo. It'd be horrendous, mate. I tell you.
Could have just painted it silver and said it was a roach.
Well, I'd just left it, mate. It would have still been in there.
I'd love to do it like a perch.
They look good, mate, don't they?
And down it, yeah. I'd love to do that.
I look forward to seeing them. Rig safety. It's specified in bold on our plan, mate.
Bold rig safety.
Bold. Talk to
Is that
me.
when it's been cleaned?
A bold.
or I prefer the Purcell version.
We've gone, mate, haven't we? One coffee.
Coffee?
Yeah, one coffee.
Is that coffee?
You've not even had one of my mince pies here, mate.
Well, I'll wait till December.
Yeah, fair play.
I mean, they're only co-op ones.
Oi!
I was expecting
Co-op
like Waitrose.
I said to you on this email when we planned this.
You did say Waitrose.
What's your right? I didn't say Waitrose. I said, what's your ride, or what's your request? And you said just coffee. So you've got a bonus here. You've got
a coffee and cakes,
brownies, and some early season mince pies. Let me just say,
we haven't left yet.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, you need to get them eating. Right. Anyway, rig safety.
Rig safety. It's been, as I've been talking about, rig safety has been really important for me, and how rigs work and how you get better from a rig. And more as I've got older, I've got more into what ifs. What if you crack off? Can that fish get away? Can he eject the rig? Barbless hooks does help. Can the lead be dislodged easily? Can the rig move away and separate itself from everything else is there? You've got to sometimes visualise how the fish is picking up rigs. A rig is only as effective as if when a fish moves. If a fish comes over and puts his mouth over your rig and doesn't move, it's not going to get hooked. It's not going to pick it up. It's got to move for that rig to be effective. Now, with these resetting rigs, with a boom section, a stiff material, and it resets, gets picked up, it drops back down and gets picked up, because down to that side it can pick up and move all over the place, but it will straighten. That does help, but in the same way that if a fish is going to pick it up, if it moves, it's got to move the hook link for it to come in resistance with a bit of resistance from the lead or a bit of resistance from something for it to hook itself.
Yeah.
So if you crack off and you're fishing a helicopter setup, that top bead is the most important bead on that rig. It's not the bead itself; it's the bead it's the thing it's sitting on. Now, there's a lot of people use, one of them tungsten sinker things, or a purposely made item that looks like that. That's made for a bead to fit over, for the swivel to run up, and then pass over and pass the leader. Now, some of these, I'm not digging anybody out, I personally think aren't as good as they should be. Because if you get a helicopter setup, and you hold that rig and you pull away on if you cracked off with a slack line, that fish is moving away. As it slides along, it hits that first little bump of that bit of rubber that the bead is sitting on. So it hits it. And you can pull and pull and pull and pull and pull. If it's pulling it tight, that ring swivel won't jump up over the top to hit that bead to pull that bead off. So it's still pulling behind that little bit of a rubber that's sitting on your leg core or whatever you've placed. And it will slide up, slide up, slide up, slide up. And it'll still, when it hits that knot, that leader knot, it's still not jumped up over the top. So that fish is tethering around. And I've bought in trailing rigs from various lakes and fish with a trailer on, and they're always helicopter setups when that top bead is not ejecting properly from that. Now, you might crack off, you might get cut off playing a fish through the weed. Now, years ago, there was weed rigs and there was non-weed rigs. There were silt rigs, there were hard bottom rigs. They still are, but the inline lead was the rig you must use in weed because it's streamlined, it's not hanging down like a pendant, and it's less affected by the weed. You're in more direct pull to the fish. Instead of a lead banging around down here, you're more in line, and it was better used in weed. But there's so much now about helicopter setups where you've got a cast and you bring your top bead up a bit, so it gives you that little bit of leeway just in case that bottom's not as clean as it should be. It may be a little bit of wisps of weed, a little bit of crap on the bottom that rig could settle down on top of. Now, the good anglers, the really good anglers, they will find, they're back on the marker floats, they're finding those perfectly lovely, clean bits of gravel, those known spots that the fish are feeding on, and they can present a better rig. At the end of the day, mate, when you use a solid bag setup, which is probably the best rig going, forget the Ronnie rig, the solid bag is the one, it's an inline lead. Nobody seems to worry about that, do they? You know, it's just recently I'm switching to lead clips, partly because of testing lead clips, playing with them and seeing what you can do to them. And as the lake gets more weedier, I'm not even using tail rubbers. And some people might say, oh, well, shoes, you don't have to pay for leads and all this. I don't like losing leads. I honestly don't like losing leads. Even though I get them for free, I don't like losing them. I'd rather have a pouch of leads there. They're all in there and they stay in there, right? I don't name them, right? But I'd rather not lose them, right? But I will have more respect to the fish than me wanting to lose. I don't make a decision. Do I care more about losing the lead or about losing a fish, right? I care more about the fish and the safety of the fish now than I do before. And I think barbless hooks, it's only me personally, the lake I fish, there's not a mark in those mouths, you know. Bruises, but there's no rips or tears.
Yeah. All
barbless. Rob Maylin venues, they're the same. The Syndicate venues, all perfect mouths, right? Bruised, but not rips and tears, right? Now I'm fishing a weedy lake in the summer. Our H waters are all weed free. You know, I mean, the Western gets weedy, but still no damaged mouths. You know, to my recognition, there might be the odd fish, but they're still. Let's see. You know, I'm more down to making sure that the fish is going to be safe. So if I crack off or get cut off, which, you know, cracking off could be down to you, Could be a mistake that you've made. Could be it just wraps around a ring. It, gets caught around your reel when you cast. So much. There's certain things that can happen. I want to make sure if that fish, that's a live bait going out there, and you're not attached to it, and that really does. If I do that, I'm like, one, I've buggered up my swim, right? Because that fish could pick up that rod instead of the one that it wants me to do, and I don't want that fish towing around a lead. Now, unfortunately, if you're fishing a lead clip setup or an inline version, that fish is. If it does pick it up, it's going to be swimming around with a length of line, lead core line, to where the point that you've cracked off. Now, with an inline lead, the lead eventually will probably pull off and slide up the line. So it's only tethered, it's only got line.
Yeah.
And then if you're fishing barbless, they can get out. I mean, I know they can get off with barbless. If there's no lead attached, they can get off, because when you land a fish caught with a barbless hook, and it's in the net, and you secure it in the net, you go back to get your camera gear sorted out. When you come back, that rig's in the net. It's hanging there in the net. It's got rid of the rig.
Yeah.
So they can get away with them, right? So I now look at the safety aspect of things, and the biggest issue that I see is that little tiny rubber, sleeve, whatever is used for a bead to be sitting on, for the top bead to be sitting on. Now, when I'm fishing my helicopter setup now, we've got a bead in the range. This is not all about trying to plug products in a range or something. It's all about safety. I've got this strap line at the end of my videos. I know it might be silly, but I always say at the end, it's up to you to ensure your rigs are safe, right? Your little rig from your swivel to your hook, it is what it is. It's your lead arrangements at the end. Can the fish get rid of that lead in the event of a cut-off or a crack-off, right? Now, some people might want to have a drop-off lead system on the take, like the inline version. It drops off quick and they come to the surface and you're away. That's fine. That's not a problem. But the only reason I've been thinking about this is because I've seen so many of lead clip setups and helicopter setups that aren't, it's user error.
Yeah.
The products out there do the job.
Yeah.
It's just user error. Have you put that little thing on, that little rubber thing onto lead core that's too thick? Are you using one that shouldn't be on lead core, making it too difficult for the bead to come off? These little drop-off beads, I've seen them wedged on and they're not coming off. It's user error. They all work.
Yeah.
But it's user error. But this little bead that we've got, it's a soft bead with a small hole in, but it's soft. And it does move. When you cast a helicopter, it will move slightly. But I know if the line parts or whatever,
worst case
that
scenario,
fish can pull that rig off easily.
Yeah.
Over lead core, over the not a lead core, fine. And if you're really, really chucking a long distance and you just wrap a little bit of PVA behind it at the setting where you want it to, and job's a good one.
Yeah.
That's just one thing. I mean, fishery owners will be agreeing with me here, because not one fishery owner wants to have a trailing fish around.
Yeah.
Because a trailing fish could result in a dead fish, because if it gets wrapped around anything, like you were telling me off camera, the fish, they will eventually die and being tethered. So it's just down to the angler. Have a look. Is your lead clip, have you pushed that tail rubber on too far into that lead clip? Have you jammed it on so much that if you do crack off, will that lead drop off? If it doesn't come off, that fish ain't going to fetch it off. You can't pull it off easily. The fish ain't going to pull it off easily. So that fish is going to, but it's only in the event of a crack off or what's it, but you don't know when you're going to crack off. You don't know when
you can't legislate for that.
You don't know when when your line's going to part on something underwater.
Yeah.
So in your head, if you've got it right and you're happy that rig is safe in the event of, then everything's fine. Because I don't want to be that person when that fishery owner finds that rig and he goes, I know whose rigs that is, and I get shouted at or banned or something gets changed in the rules because of somebody hasn't set up that rig correctly. Now, all I can say is if you've got your own fishery, think of it as if it's your own fishery. The health of the fish come first. So if you turn up on a lake, if you treat it how you would treat your own fishery, then there isn't any problem. But all the products work. All the company's products that make stuff, they all work.
Yeah.
It's just down to don't mix and match. Use what it's designed to use for. You know, there's one's just for naked, one's for leg core. Use it correctly, and you'll be fine. But some, and I know this because I've gone through loads and I've tried them, some don't allow that ring swivel to pass over for that bead to come over. It's just, I don't know, it's just me. Some people may say, Shoes, you're talking rubbish. But it's just me. I just want to be making sure in the event if anything goes wrong, that fish can get away, and it could only be tying a rig, or it's only got the mono, you know, and hopefully with a barbless as well, it would. It's just having
the presence of mind and sort of responsibility to check it, because I bet some people don't, not in water, like in the edge, for example, you might test a rig, but you're not testing necessarily how that rig reacts if, in the event of a cut off or a crack off, you've got
that's the only thing. It's the event of those two, crack off or a cut off.
Yeah,
is can he get away with it after that's happened?
Yeah,
that's the only thing. And I might, you know, again, it may be something that you may think, oh, you're overthinking. But no, I'm thinking more of. I've seen trailing fish. I've seen tethered fish. I've seen dead tethered fish, leg core, and the lead's still attached. The fish are dead because of it.
No, mate.
But it's down to the angler.
Yeah.
It's down to the angler to ensure that the rigs are safe.
Nice.
So that's my...
2 penneth worth.
Yeah.
I like it. Shusey, this has been... I mean, my plan was very structured, but I like the way that we've dobbed in and out of everything here. It's a bit like one of your paintings. Very creative.
I'll go off on tangents.
I love it. I love it, mate. Before you go, though, there are some quick fire questions that everyone has to do. Okay. I've tailored them to you. No...
coffee or tea? Coffee.
No. It's coffee, isn't it? Do you even drink tea?
Well, I used to. What, Co-op or Waitrose?
Are you Waitrose? Birmingham? Waitrose?
No, mate, it's only Tesco's.
Only Tesco's, please.
Tesco's, mate.
You were just trying to punish me for some decent Waitrose
shopper
stuff, weren't you? Quick fire question. Favourite carp fishing decade?
When we used to get away with it, 90s.
90s, do what you want. He's giving it the big and about fish safety. He's the other side of the pond having a social.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's why I said as I've got older.
Yeah. North or south? You're in the middle, but you got to pick one.
Have I?
Yeah.
I can't, can I?
Of course you can.
I represent a southern venue, a southern company, and a northern company.
You've got to pick one.
Midlands.
You can't pick the Midlands.
Pick up the Midlands.
The Midlands is technically north, though. A lot of people think that if you're north of Watford, that is the north.
Only
isn't it?
down here.
Yeah. So you're all right. That's the north. Fine. You've picked north. Well done. Video or stills?
Looking at the pictures, photographs that are hanging up.
Yeah, you like
stills. Really do. They do capture. The thing about stills is you can put them on the wall and they're there for as long as you want. With the video, you've got to play it back to watch that.
Yeah.
Little tiny bit of something. With the stills, you've captured it for eternity.
If you're a good photographer.
You've got to have the eye.
The eye. 10/20s in a session or 140?
Consistently with the 20s.
Yeah. Drum and bass or country and western?
What, a bit of thigh slapping?
Yeah.
No chance.
No, drum and bass?
No, country western. No, neither really.
Neither?
I'm more of a, I was around when the proper house music and garage came in the 80s.
I can see that.
Thanks. And, it was Chicago house music came in the 80s, and then it went into garage, and then it went acid. But I would go house garage stuff.
House garage. Unbelievable. Name an angler you wish you'd fished with.
I think growing up watching Wilson.
Yeah.
And because it was Wilson, then it was Matt Hayes.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go to Norway and go and fish with Mate's on one of his, his trout fishing venues and that. These rivers that he does.
He could do that. Guides, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So I've met Matt a few times, but that's something I'd like to do. But I think Wilson, when I was watching him on telly and he was laughing and joking about catching things, I'd love to have sat there with him while he was fishing.
Wilson on the Wensum catching chub.
And barbel, yeah.
Jeez.
It's just the laughing and joking that he used to do. I mean, it was a whole family event watching that.
Yeah.
It's like Bob and Paul Whitehouse now, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
It's captured everybody now, not just anglers. But Wilson did that.
Yeah, Wilson's a legend. Yeah, we're in. Oh, yeah, exactly. Mate. What a boy.
Yeah.
What a boy. Sony or Canon?
Sony.
Oh, he's just straight shot it down, Canon. Not one for a video, one for stills?
Sony.
Proper snob, innit?
Everything Sony made.
Don't care, do you? One thing you'd remove from carp fishing? I was going to say podcasts after this.
I don't want to be controversial.
Oh, shoes. You've been controversial. You're one of the most controversial anglers in carp fishing.
Really? I'm so tempted to say something.
Go on.
No.
Don't be a soft lad. No.
Oh,
he's proper. He's more nervous than the helicopter flight here.
Can we come back to that?
Yeah, we can come back to it when you've politically managed to get around. You should have just said what first came into your head.
I should say pass.
No, you can't say pass, but you've got to come back to it. One bait, one rig, one venue.
The cell.
Yeah.
A Combi D rig.
Yeah.
And one venue. I'm going to go back Patshull, mate. I enjoyed it so much. I enjoyed it so much down there. It was a massive turning point. Such a laugh.
Yeah. 3 celebrities you'd like to take fishing?
Well, let's go back to that. What's it? Social media?
You would remove social media altogether?
I'd only have one.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then all the negativity would go onto there, wouldn't it? It would find a platform somewhere. I think it's all the negativity on social media. I wish it was just all filtered out. Anybody says anything negative, it just doesn't appear. That would be brilliant. There's too many conspiracy theories. There's too many rubbish put up there. It's just, people they take their news from social media, rightly or wrong. There's nobody's checking to make sure that's actually right, what they're saying and what they're agreeing to. Get rid of all negativity from social media.
Last one is 3 celebrities you'd like to take fishing. These are non-anglers from the celebrity world, past or present. You can have a variable smorgasbord of celebrities.
Celebrities that really, basically 3 celebrities that I would go and watch or.
No, you would take fishing.
No, I know, but you'd got to like them for them to take them fishing.
I don't even like them. Do you know what I mean? Or you might just be fascinated by them as a person.
I'm just thinking of a fit American or fit actress I could take fishing. Well, she wouldn't come with me anyway.
Yeah, but this is the point. You've got the gold ticket, mate. They've got no choice, really.
Oh, right.
It's not kidnap. It's not quite that extreme, but it's along those lines.
Forgotten the name though.
This will probably never happen either.
It's never going to happen.
Wait. What's it they say? You got to put it out in the universe for it to happen? Fit American actress.
Oh, Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
There's something about her, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I like her.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, she can come fishing with me. She
Right.
wouldn't.
You need to drop her a DM, mate, on Instagram.
I think I should, yeah. I'd have to pick a footballer. Ronaldo, even though I'm a Liverpool supporter.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think because not the fact that he's Manchester United, it's the fact that what he's done in his whole career of football.
Played loads of football and scored loads of goals?
Change that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, David Beckham's. Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay.
Beckham, from the footballing world, Beckham. Emily Blunt.
I can't. I can't.
Apparently, that's Cockney rhyming slang.
That's why you've said it.
I don't know what he's on about.
He's made me cry with laughter. Go on.
Oh,
go on.
What's his name?
That's a deciding factor in this.
Another actor.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No.
Robert De Niro.
No.
Michael Caine.
He's got that deep voice.
Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman.
Why Morgan Freeman?
Just when he was in The Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, good film.
It was just every film that he's in I have to watch. Even though I can't remember him.
Nice.
I just something about his acting ability and everything. I think he's top notch.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
I don't think he'd be interested in carp fishing, but him sitting there talking to me about it would be really interesting.
He might be interested in carp fishing, mate.
So, Cockney rhyming slang.
Don't.
David Beckham, Morgan Freeman.
Brilliant. That's good. Well done. We got there. That was quick.
Very quick, weren't they, then?
That was quick. Final question. Night in with the missus or hit the lake on the end of a pressure drop and a fresh
At the moment, lake.
At the moment, lake. Yeah, but you never know. Do you know what I mean? Tomorrow it could be different, couldn't it?
Yeah, if there's any young, attractive women watching.
This is basically a Tinder appeal for Shoozy, yeah?
If you fancy an aging Brummie, I'm available.
I'm going to put that. That's in the trailer, mate. You're a legend, mate. Thank you so much for coming in.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. Even though it's 3 hours to get here and I've got another 3 hours to go back. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. I really enjoyed it. We'll have some cakes and a coffee.
You'll be all right, mate.
Show me around the lake.
No, I massively appreciate it. I'll definitely show you around the site.
Okay.
I massively appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Please leave a review. Make sure you subscribe. And we'll see you again soon with another Nash Off the Hook podcast. Shoozy, thank you again.
It's a pleasure, mate. Thank you.